The ancient masters did not see pain as a curse. They saw it as a raw material, the uncarved block of marble from which a masterpiece is sculpted, the lead which, under the right conditions, could become gold. They understood that the most profound transformations do not occur in the absence of pressure, but because of it. And so I ask you, what of your own pain? The weariness that settles in your bones, the quiet ache behind your eyes that does not fade with sleep, the ghost of a past failure that still whispers in the silent hours of the night. Have you been taught to see this as a flaw, a sign of your weakness, a weight to be discarded as quickly as possible? Society offers 1,000 distractions from this sacred material, 1,000 narcotics to numb its edges and deny its presence. But you are here now listening to this because some deep intuitive part of you knows that running is a dead end. You know that to numb the pain is also to numb the joy. This journey we are about to embark upon suggests a different path, a more ancient one. It does not offer an escape, but a passage through. It does not promise to banish the darkness, but to reveal the particles of light that have been hidden within it all along. This path is built upon a single, radical truth, that within you, at the very center of your being, exists an instrument of profound alchemy, an inner philosopher's stone, a faculty of consciousness that can take the heaviest elements of your life, the grief, the fear, the confusion, the loss, and transmute them, not into forgetting, but into wisdom, not into numbness, but into a deep and unshakable peace. This is not a force you must acquire. It is a power you already possess. It is not something you must earn or become worthy of. It is your birthright. The work is not in finding it, but in remembering how to use it. So let the world outside fall away for a time. Let the noise of expectation and demand grow faint. Find a place where you can be still. Allow your breath to deepen, to anchor you in this present moment, the only place where true change can occur. This is not a lecture. This is a communion. A quiet conversation with the part of you that has been waiting patiently for you to come home, to pick up the tools, and to begin the great work. Let us begin here, in the truth of this moment. Not the moment you wish for, not the one you believe you should be in, but this one, the one that feels heavy, the one that might be steeped in a weariness so profound, it feels like the very marrow of your bones has grown tired. Perhaps it is a state of quiet confusion, a mental fog that blurs the edges of your days. Or maybe it is the sharp, undeniable presence of grief, an ache that has become such a constant companion, you have forgotten what life felt like without it. Acknowledge this. Whatever it is for you, let it be present. Do not turn away. For this is the starting point. This is the ground floor of the temple. This is the raw ore of your being. For so long, you have been told a story, a pervasive and damaging myth, that these states of being are evidence of your failure, that your anxiety is a defect, that your sorrow is an illness to be cured, that your burnout is a sign that you are not strong enough, not disciplined enough, not good enough. You have been taught to look upon the landscape of your own inner world with the eyes of a harsh critic, judging every shadow, every crack, every imperfection. You have been told that the goal is a life of perpetual light, untroubled ease, and constant positivity. And so, when your own reality does not match this impossible ideal, the conclusion is swift and brutal. You are broken. But the alchemist knows better. The alchemist does not discard the lead. The alchemist looks upon the dull, heavy metal with reverence, for they know it contains the potential for gold. The sculptor does not discard the uncarved block of stone. They see within its rough, unyielding form the sleeping masterpiece. I am asking you now to become that alchemist, to become that sculptor for your own soul. The pain you feel, the confusion that clouds your mind, the exhaustion that weighs you down, this is not a sign of your brokenness. It is the raw, unrefined ore of your existence. It is potent. It is valuable. It is rich with every ounce of wisdom and strength you have ever sought. You have simply been taught to misidentify your greatest treasure as your greatest shame. Imagine you are standing at the edge of a vast, unexplored territory that is your own inner world. The story you've been told is that this land is barren, dangerous, and worthless. As you look out, you see the evidence. You see the sharp rocks of past hurts and betrayals. You see the tangled, thorny weeds of anxious thoughts that grow so fast they seem to choke everything else out. You see the dry, cracked earth of burnout, where nothing seems to be able to grow. The sky above is often grey, cast over with the clouds of a sadness that seems to have no source and no end. And so, you have spent your life trying to escape this land. You have built walls to keep from having to look at it. You have sought distraction in noise, in ambition, in the approval of others, anything to avoid the silence in which you would have to confront the reality of this inner landscape. You have judged the entirety of your being by this harsh, difficult surface. Now, let us entertain a new possibility. What if you were not a refugee from this land, but its sole inheritor, its cartographer, its geologist? What if your sacred task was not to flee, but to explore, to map, to understand? What if you were to walk into this territory not with fear, but with a quiet curiosity, to feel the texture of the sharp rocks, not as wounds, but as history, as data, to examine the thorny weeds, not as enemies, but as tenacious lifeforms that show you exactly where your unexamined fears are rooted? What if, beneath the cracked, dry earth, there are aquifers of immense peace? What if, deep in the stone of your oldest pains, there are veins of unimaginable gold and diamonds of pure clarity? The truth is, you do not know what lies in the depths of your own being, because you have been too afraid to look. You have been convinced to hate the surface so much that you never thought to dig. The first and most courageous act of inner alchemy is to stop running. It is to turn around, face your own territory and say, "This is mine, all of it. The rocks, the weeds, the dust, the grey skies. It is all me, and I will begin to explore it." This act alone releases an immense amount of energy. The energy you have been expending for years, holding up the walls, running from the shadows, pretending you are somewhere else, can now be reclaimed. The fatigue you feel is not just from your pain. It is from the exhausting, full-time job of resisting your pain. Acceptance is not resignation. Resignation says, "This is terrible, and I am stuck with it." Acceptance says, "This is what is present right now, and I will not spend my precious life force fighting the truth of this moment." It is a posture of profound realism and strength. It is the solid ground upon which all transformation is built. You cannot transform something you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot heal a wound you pretend does not exist. Let yourself feel this, right now, in your body. Notice where the weariness lives. Is it a weight on your shoulders, a hollowness in your chest, a knot in your stomach? Just for this moment, stop trying to fix it or push it away. Stop analyzing why it's there or when it will leave. Simply allow it to be. Greet it. Ah, there you are, old friend. The heaviness. Place your awareness upon it, gently, like a soft blanket. This is the first touch of the alchemist. You are not condoning the pain or celebrating it. You are simply ending the war against it. You are withdrawing your armies. And in the silence that follows the ceasefire, something new can begin. Every part of you that you have rejected contains a gift. The anxiety you feel is a tremendous source of energy, an indicator of a powerful life force that has been misdirected by fear. The sadness you carry is a testament to your capacity to love and connect deeply. The anger that sometimes erupts is the voice of a boundary that has been violated, the roar of a guardian who is trying to protect something sacred within you. We have been taught to shoot the messengers. The work of the alchemist is to welcome the messengers, to listen to their dispatches from the front lines of the soul, and to use that information to understand the kingdom. So this is your first task on this journey, to lay down your weapons, to cease your judgment, to look upon the raw material of your current experience, all of it, with a new set of eyes. The eyes of a prospector who knows that the most valuable minerals are often found in the harshest terrain. You are standing on sacred, valuable ground. The potential for your transformation is not somewhere in the future, once you have fixed yourself. It is right here. It is not in spite of the pain you feel, but because of it. The lead is in your hands. It feels heavy. It feels cold and lifeless. But you have made a commitment to see it not as a burden, but as a possibility. You have acknowledged the material. You have accepted the landscape. Now, Let us begin to examine the nature of this weight you feel more closely. For within its very density lies the first clue to your own forgotten majesty. This weight you feel, let us stay with it, this raw material we have just acknowledged. Do not turn from its density. Let yourself be fully present with the sensation of this burden. We have been taught to name it depression, anxiety, fatigue. We have medicalized it, pathologized it, and done everything in our power to exorcise it from our being. But what if we have mislabeled it entirely? What if this constant gravitational pull is not the evidence of your flaw, but the undeniable proof of your substance? What if this ache is not a sign of your smallness, but the protest of your magnificence being confined in a space too small for it? The suffering you experience is not because you are worthless. It is because a deep, ancient, and incorruptible part of you knows, with absolute certainty, your own infinite worth, and it can no longer tolerate the dissonance of the life you are living. The pain is a signal of misalignment. It is the cry of your own royal nature, forced to live in the rags of a borrowed identity. The heaviness you feel is the weight of an unseen crown. Imagine this: you were born a sovereign, the ruler of a vast and intricate inner kingdom composed of your thoughts, your emotions, your perceptions, and your boundless potential. At the moment of your birth, a crown was placed upon your head, not a crown of metal or jewels, but one of consciousness itself, a crown of pure, creative awareness. It was your birthright, the symbol of your power to rule your inner domain, to choose your focus, to cultivate your emotional states, to decide what has meaning and what does not. For a brief time, you wore it naturally. As a small child, you lived in the kingdom, present, creative, and fully embodied. But then the conditioning began. The world of other people, themselves amnesiac sovereigns, began to teach you a different story. They told you that your worth was conditional. It depended on your behavior, your achievements, your appearance, the approval you could garner. They taught you that your inner world was a dangerous and untrustworthy place, that your emotions were irrational, that your thoughts were to be policed. Slowly, unconsciously, you began to believe them. You forgot the crown. You began to stoop, to make yourself smaller, to hide the light of your own awareness for fear it might offend or be judged. You abdicated your throne and began to live like a beggar in your own kingdom. A beggar lives at the mercy of circumstance. A beggar's mood depends on whether a passerby offers a kind word or a sneer. A beggar's security depends on the scraps that are thrown their way. A beggar's identity is defined by their lack, by what they do not have. Look at your own life. How often does your inner peace depend entirely on external events? A promotion, a compliment, a message from a certain person. How often are you tossed about on the chaotic waves of your own unexamined emotions, feeling like a victim to their storms? How much of your energy is spent pleading for validation from others, hoping they will see you, that they will approve, that they will finally give you permission to feel worthy? This is the life of the beggar, and it is exhausting. It is a state of perpetual hunger and profound powerlessness. And all the while the crown sits on your head. It has never left you. But now, because you are stooped in the posture of a beggar, its weight has become a torment. It presses down on your skull. It strains your neck. It curves your spine. You feel it as a headache, as tension, as a chronic, unexplainable fatigue. You mistake this sacred reminder of your royalty for just another part of your suffering. You have forgotten that the weight is not meant to be carried by a stooped back, but to be balanced with grace upon the head of a sovereign standing tall. The pain you feel is the kingdom itself crying out for its rightful ruler. It is the dissonance, the painful friction between who you truly are and the diminished role you have been playing. This dissonance is a sacred hum. It is the sound of two notes playing simultaneously inside you, the high, clear, unwavering note of your true sovereign self and the low, distorted, wavering note of the personality you have adopted for survival. That chronic dissatisfaction with a life that looks perfectly fine on the outside, that is the dissonance. Your soul knows it was made for more than just fine. That sharp, disproportionate sting you feel from a minor criticism, that is the dissonance. The insult clashes violently with the silent, inner knowing of your own unassailable worth. that constant, nagging restlessness, that longing for something more that you can never quite name. That is the song of your soul, remembering the freedom of its own vast kingdom and rattling the bars of its current cage. You must understand this. This ache is not your enemy. It is your most loyal friend. It is your compass needle, always pointing north, always pointing back toward your authentic nature. A soul that was truly lost would feel nothing. It would be numb, fully identified with the beggar's story. The fact that you feel this pain is the ultimate sign of your health. It is the proof that your spirit is still awake, still fighting for you, still calling you home to your throne. So how does one begin to reclaim the throne? It is not an act of aggression or of ego. It is not about declaring yourself better than others. It is an act of quiet, internal realignment. The first step is not to grasp for the crown, but simply to straighten your spine, metaphorically and perhaps even physically, right now. To lift your chin from your chest, to draw in a breath not as a beggar asking for air, but as a sovereign claiming the space your body occupies. Feel the subtle shift. This is the first posture of remembrance. The second step is to begin observing the habits of the beggar mind without identifying with them. That part of you that endlessly complains about circumstances, that feels victimized by others, that rehearses old grievances, that desperately seeks validation. This is the voice of your conditioning. It is the beggar's habit. The sovereign is not the one who silences this voice with violence. The sovereign is the awareness that can listen to the beggar's panicked pleas with compassion, but without believing they are the truth. The sovereign is the spacious, silent presence in which the beggar's story can arise and pass away, without disturbing the peace of the kingdom. This is the beginning of exercising your royal power. Not the power to control the world, but the power to not be controlled by it. The power to choose your own inner state, regardless of the weather outside. You do not need to wait for anyone to validate you. You do not need to achieve one more thing. The kingdom is already yours. The power is inherent. The weight you carry is not your shame. It is your inheritance. The pain you feel is not a punishment. It is a homing beacon, a vibration calling you back to yourself. You are not a beggar dreaming of being a king. You are a king who has been dreaming for a very long time that he is a beggar, and the dream is now coming to an end. This crown, this sovereignty, feels so heavy because it is entangled with the ghosts of your personal history. To learn to wear it with the lightness for which it was designed, we must first turn and face the chamber where these ghosts reside, the place where the beggar's story was first written. Let us step inside. The transition from the last thought has led us directly here, to the threshold of this inner chamber. Take a conscious breath as you enter. The air is thick, stale with the breath of old arguments and silent tears. The light is dim, filtered through the dust of accumulated beliefs. On the walls, you can see shadows, dancing, projections of past events playing on an endless loop. This is the mind. Not the brilliant tool of creative intelligence that is your birthright, but the conditioned mechanism, the echo chamber of yesterday. For so long, you have believed that you are this room, that you are the stale air, the dancing shadows, the reverberating noise. The insight we must now uncover, the truth that will set you free, is this: you are not the chamber. You are the one who has just walked through the door, holding a lantern. An echo chamber functions on a simple principle. A sound is made, and it bounces off hard, reflective surfaces, returning to the listener again and again, long after the original sound has ceased. The original event may have been a single moment, a critical comment from a parent, a moment of public humiliation in a classroom, the sharp pain of a first betrayal, the failure of a cherished project. The sound was made once, and then it was over. It exists no more. But in the chamber of your mind, it never ended. It struck the hard wall of your young, sensitive consciousness and has been echoing ever since. That voice of self-doubt that whispers, "You are not capable." It is not your voice. It is the echo of a teacher, a parent, or a peer from decades ago. The original sound is gone, but the echo remains, and you have mistaken it for your own inner truth. That jolt of social anxiety you feel before entering a room of people, it is the echo of a past rejection, a memory of not fitting in, now bouncing off the walls of the present moment, creating a phantom threat where there is none. That reflexive distrust that taints your potential for intimacy. It is the echo of a past heartbreak, a ghost that warns you against a danger that is no longer present. You are living a life haunted not by reality, but by echoes. You are arguing with ghosts, defending yourself against memories, and expending immense, precious energy fighting battles that were over long ago. The chamber keeps you trapped in a phantom reality, perpetually reacting to a past that you carry within you. Now, let us deepen the metaphor. Imagine this chamber is lined, floor to ceiling, with old warped mirrors. Each mirror was forged in the heat of a powerful past experience, and none of them reflect the truth. They only reflect their own inherent distortion. Look, here is the mirror of unworthiness. It is vast and takes up an entire wall. Its surface is coated with the dusty residue of every mistake you have ever made, every criticism you have ever received. When you stand before it, it reflects back an image of you that is small, flawed, and fundamentally incapable. It magnifies your perceived imperfections and shrinks your strengths until they are invisible. For your entire life, you have stood before this mirror, and you have believed the reflection. You have said, "Yes, that is me, small, flawed, incapable." And next to it, the mirror of fear. This one is concave, like a funhouse mirror. It takes any small potential future challenge and stretches it into a terrifying, monstrous catastrophe. It reflects a world that is menacing, predatory, and fraught with danger at every turn. It whispers, "Don't try, you will fail. Don't risk, you will be hurt. Stay small, stay safe." And because you believe the reflection, you have allowed your life to be dictated by avoidance, your world shrinking day by day to accommodate the monstrous images in this single distorted mirror. Over here is the mirror of scarcity. Its glass is grimy, stained with the fingerprints of every comparison you have ever made. It is incapable of reflecting what you have. It can only show you what is missing. It reflects your neighbor's success, your friend's relationship, the curated perfection of strangers on a screen. It reflects lack, lack, lack. Standing before it, you feel a constant, gnawing hunger, a feeling of being perpetually behind, impoverished in a world of apparent plenty. And perhaps most subtly, here is the mirror of past identity. This mirror simply shows you the person you used to be. It reflects the face of the heartbroken teenager, the ambitious but naive young adult, the person you were before you learned, before you grew, before you survived. It refuses to acknowledge your evolution. And every time you try to make a new choice, it shows you your old self and says, "Who are you kidding? This is who you are. You don't change." The core tragedy of the human condition is not that these mirrors exist, but that we believe we are the reflections. We have spent our lives confusing the reflector with the reflection. We have allowed our sense of self to be dictated by warped glass and ancient sound waves. The liberation, the great awakening, happens in the moment you realize your true identity. You are not the reflection. You are not the echo. You are the silent, spacious awareness that is witnessing the entire hall of mirrors. This is the key. This is the master tool of the alchemist. It is the practice of disidentification. It is the conscious, deliberate creation of space between the witness and the phenomenon being witnessed. It does not require a fight. It does not require you to smash the mirrors or plug your ears. It simply requires a subtle shift of identity. Let's practice this now. A thought arises, a familiar echo. I will never be able to do this. It is a reflection from the mirror of unworthiness. In the old way, you would merge with it. You would become the thought, feel the corresponding despair, and your actions would align with that belief. In the new way, the way of the sovereign, you step back. You observe the thought and you label it gently. Ah, a thought, an echo, a reflection from the old mirror. You see it for what it is, a pattern of energy, a memory, a sound. It is not the truth. It is not you. You are the one who hears the echo. A feeling of anxiety arises in your chest. In the old way, you would say, "I am anxious." You would become the anxiety. In the new way, you create space. Ah, There is a feeling of anxiety present within me. Can you feel the difference? I am anxious is a prison. There is a feeling of anxiety means you are the container, the space in which the anxiety is happening. The sky is not the cloud. You are not your feelings. You are the sky-like awareness in which the clouds of emotion drift by. This is not a suppression of thought or feeling. It is the opposite. It is a radical acceptance of them, but without the mistaken identity. You allow the echoes to be there, but you no longer grant them the power of your belief. You allow the mirrors to show their warped reflections, but you no longer mistake them for your own face. You stop feeding the ghosts. And a ghost that is not fed, a ghost that is not believed in, eventually fades. An echo that meets no resistance, but is met with silent, spacious awareness, eventually dissolves into the silence from which it came. The chamber does not need to be destroyed. It simply needs to be seen for what it is from a place of quiet knowing. You are no longer a prisoner trapped within the room. You have remembered that you are the conscious visitor, holding the lantern of awareness, free to observe the display, and then, when you are ready, to walk out into the fresh, clean air of the present moment. Now that you have found the space between yourself and the echoes, the next great task is to learn how to cultivate the one thing that can absorb all noise and make all reflections irrelevant. It is to cultivate the profound power of stillness. We have walked through the hall of mirrors and listened to the phantom sounds in the echo chamber of yesterday. We have seen how the mind, left to its own undisciplined devices, creates a world of perpetual noise, a storm of reactivity that drains our life force and obscures the truth of who we are. But the sacred work of alchemy, the profound transformation of our inner world, cannot happen in a storm. The alchemist does not work in a whirlwind. They do not attempt to transmute lead into gold in the midst of chaos. First, before any other action, the alchemist creates a sanctuary, a laboratory of the soul, a place of profound, intentional quiet. This is our next task, to cease our frantic doing, our endless running, and to consciously grant ourselves the gift of stillness. In our modern world, this is perhaps the most radical act of all. We have been conditioned to fear stillness. We equate it with boredom, with unproductivity, with emptiness. We see a vacant moment and rush to fill it with a screen, with a podcast, with a thought, with a worry. Our society worships motion, speed, and noise. Stillness is seen as a void, a nothingness to be avoided at all costs. But this is a profound misunderstanding of its nature. The stillness we are speaking of is not emptiness. It is a state of potent, vibrant fullness. It is not passivity. It is a state of absolute readiness. It is not a void, but the very container in which all creation can take place. Imagine your mind is a deep lake. When the winds of anxious thoughts, past regrets, and future worries blow across its surface, the water becomes turbulent and murky. The waves chop and churn, stirring up the sediment from the bottom. In this state, the lake has lost its true nature. It cannot reflect the sky. You cannot see the fish swimming in its depths. You cannot see the unique, beautiful stones that lie on its bed. The lake believes it is the turmoil. It believes it is the murkiness. Its entire reality is chaos. This is the state of the ordinary, unobserved mind. Now, imagine the winds cease. The surface of the lake, no longer agitated, begins to settle. The sediment slowly drifts back down to the bottom. The water becomes clear, transparent, still, and in this stillness, the lake's true magic is revealed. It can now perfectly reflect the vast blue sky and the passing clouds without becoming them. It can now reveal the vibrant life swimming within its own depths. For the first time, you can see clearly all the way down to the very bottom. Stillness did not empty the lake. Stillness allowed the lake to become fully itself. Stillness reveals, chaos obscures. Your task is not to fight the winds of thought, but to allow the waters of your own awareness to grow still. So how do we find this stillness when the mind's habit is a lifetime of noise? We do not engage in a battle. To fight the mind is to create more turmoil, to whip the waters into a greater frenzy. The approach is one of supreme intelligence and gentleness. We simply shift our attention. We give our awareness an anchor, something to hold on to that is always, and without fail, in the present moment. The mind lives in the past and the future. The anchor lives only in the now. The most universal and reliable anchor is your own breath. It requires no belief, no special circumstances. It is with you from the moment of your birth to the moment of your death. Let us find it now. You do not need to change your breathing. Simply feel it. Feel the subtle sensation of the cool air entering your nostrils and the warmer air leaving. Feel the gentle rise of your chest or your abdomen on the in-breath and the gentle fall on the out-breath. Place the entirety of your attention on these simple physical sensations. Your mind will wander. This is its habit. It will pull you back into the echo chamber, into a memory, a plan, a worry. This is not a failure. It is simply the mind doing what it does. The moment you notice you have wandered, you have already woken up. And in that moment of waking up, you gently, kindly, and without any judgment, guide your attention back to the anchor, back to the feeling of the breath. This is the practice. This is the entire art. It is a continuous, gentle returning. Each return is a victory. Each return is a strengthening of the muscle of presence, a deepening of the stillness. We can expand this anchor to include the whole of your inner body. The mind tells stories, but the body always tells the truth of the present moment. Bring your awareness now to the feeling of life within your hands. You may feel a tingling, a warmth, a sense of vibration. There is a field of energy there. You do not have to imagine it, just feel it. Now bring your awareness to your feet. Feel the life within them. Feel your body as a whole, a single, unified field of sensation. The body cannot be in the past or the future. It is always, incontrovertibly, here, now. By anchoring your awareness in the feeling of your inner body, you pull your identity out of the chaotic, time-bound world of thought and ground it in the serene, timeless reality of being. This cultivation of stillness is not a spiritual luxury or a passive retreat. It is the essential preparatory stage for all meaningful inner work. It is the clearing of the alchemist's workbench. First, stillness creates separation. In the storm of the mind, you are fused with your emotions. A wave of anger rises, and you say, "I am angry." You become the anger. A wave of sadness rises, and you say, "I am sad." You become the sadness. In the clear space of stillness, you can observe the wave of anger rising, and you can say, "I am the awareness in which a feeling of anger is being observed." You are the sky, not the storm cloud. This separation is the beginning of all freedom. It allows you to hold your emotions without being possessed by them. Second, stillness cultivates clarity. The solutions to your deepest problems, the insights you have been seeking, the next right step on your path, these things do not come from more frantic thinking. Frantic thinking is just stirring the murky water. True insight, true intelligence, arises from the quiet space when the thinking temporarily subsides. Like a lost key at the bottom of the lake, it can only be seen when the water is clear. By practicing stillness, you create the conditions for your own inner wisdom to emerge, unforced and unbidden. Finally, stillness gives the alchemist a steady hand. The emotions we carry, the raw ore of our being, can be volatile. To approach our deepest grief or our most primal rage with a panicked mind is to risk an explosion. But to approach it from a place of deep, embodied stillness is to approach it with the calm, compassionate precision of a master surgeon. You can touch your own wounds without flinching because you are grounded in a peace that is deeper than any pain. This sanctuary is always available to you. It is as close as your next breath. It is the space between two thoughts. You have created the laboratory. You have found your anchor in the timeless now. You have allowed the waters to begin to clear. Now, and only now, that the space is prepared and your hand is steady, can we introduce the next element. Into this quiet, sacred sanctuary, we can bring the flame, the gentle, unwavering and purifying fire of pure observation. Here, in the stillness, the alchemical work truly begins. We have acknowledged the raw ore of our being. We have recognized the weight of the unseen crown. We have walked through the echo chamber of the mind and found our way to the sanctuary of stillness. The laboratory is prepared. The raw material is on the workbench. Now we introduce the catalyst, the agent of transformation. In our world of effort and struggle, we assume this agent must be a force of will, a hammer to smash what is unwanted, a great effort of positive thinking to paper over the cracks of our sorrow. We believe we must fight, wrestle with, and conquer our inner demons. But the wisdom of the alchemist is far more subtle and infinitely more powerful. The catalyst is not a hammer, but a flame, and it is a cool fire, a gentle, smokeless flame that does not seek to destroy, but to illuminate and to purify. This is the sacred fire of pure observation, the unwavering light of your own awareness. The ego also knows a kind of fire. Its fire is hot, aggressive, and violent. It is the fire of judgment, of criticism, of suppression. When a feeling it deems negative arises, the ego's fire rages against it, trying to burn it out of existence. It meets anger with more anger. It meets fear with condemnation. It meets sadness with impatient resistance. But this fire only creates more smoke, more confusion, more inner conflict. It is the fire that scorches the earth and leaves behind only blackness. This is not the fire of transformation, it is the fire of self-war. The fire we now cultivate is of a completely different nature. It is the fire of the sun. The sun shines its light upon the whole of the earth without condition or judgment. It illuminates a budding rose with the same impartial grace as it illuminates a pile of decaying leaves. It does not prefer the rose. It does not condemn the decay. It simply shines, and in its shining, it brings life, it warms, it reveals. Your awareness, when freed from the judgments of the mind, has this same quality. It is a light that can shine upon your deepest fear, your most profound grief, your most shameful memory, and it does not flinch, it does not condemn, it simply illuminates. It says, I see you, I am willing to be with you. Herein lies the great paradox of consciousness. This gentle, non-interfering light is the most powerful transformative agent in the universe. A pattern of thought or a painful emotion that is kept in the darkness of unconsciousness, that is resisted and suppressed, does not go away. It festers, it mutates, it gains power in the shadows, it becomes a demon. But the moment that same energy pattern is brought into the steady, compassionate light of your awareness, it begins to change. It cannot sustain its monstrous form under the gaze of pure observation. Just as physical darkness is nothing more than the absence of light and vanishes the moment a candle is lit, so too do unconscious patterns begin to lose their power the moment they are met with the light of your presence. You do not need to fight your demons, you only need to turn on the light. To make this practical, let us adopt the posture of a scientist in a laboratory. Your inner world is your field of study. Your sole task is not to change the results of the experiment, but to observe it with absolute neutrality, precision, and a gentle curiosity. A thought appears in the field of your mind. Perhaps it is a familiar one, I am not good enough. The untrained mind immediately fuses with this thought. It believes it, and a cascade of painful emotions follows. The scientist of the mind does something radically different. They observe the thought as an object. The internal note is simply, a thought has arisen. Its verbal content is, I am not good enough. Interesting. The scientist does not argue with the thought. To argue with it is to give it reality, to validate it as a worthy opponent. The scientist does not try to replace it with a positive thought. That is simply another form of resistance. The scientist simply notes its presence, its texture, its energetic charge, as they would note a change of color in a chemical solution. Then they watch as, without the fuel of their belief, the thought eventually loses its momentum and dissolves back into the silence from which it came. Then, a feeling, a wave of anxiety begins to crest in your solar plexus. The untrained mind says, I am anxious, and is immediately swept away by the wave, drowning in the story of what might go wrong. The scientist takes a different approach. They bring the light of their observation directly to the raw physical sensation of the emotion. A distinct energetic sensation is now present in the chest and stomach. It has a vibrating quality. There is a corresponding tightness in the throat. The mind has labeled this anxiety. Fascinating. Let me stay with the raw sensation before the story. I will simply observe it, breathe into it, allow it to be here. No. Can you feel the shift? The scientist's curiosity creates a space between the observer and the observed. In that space, there is freedom. In that space, the emotion is no longer a personal affliction, but an impersonal wave of energy passing through the field of your body. You are not trying to get rid of it. You are becoming intensely interested in its nature. This kind, curious, non-interfering attention is the essence of the alchemical flame. This fire purifies by burning away the dross. The raw energy of an emotion, like anger, is clean. It is just energy. The dross, the toxic impurity, is the story we wrap around it. He disrespected me. This is unfair. I am a victim. I always get treated this way. This narrative is the poison. The fire of pure observation shines on the raw energy, but does not feed the story. The story, starved of the fuel of your belief, begins to crumble. It turns to ash and blows away. What is left is the clean, pure energy, which can then be safely released or integrated as simple vitality. This fire separates elements that have been dangerously fused. In the unconscious state, a thought, an emotion, a physical sensation, and your sense of I are all welded together into one painful knot. The flame of pure observation acts like a high-precision torch. It moves gently over the knot, and the elements begin to fall apart. You see that the thought, I am a failure, is separate from the feeling of heaviness in your chest. You see that the feeling is separate from the story you tell about it. And most profoundly, you see that you, the silent, observing presence, are separate from all of it. This is the great unknotting. This is liberation. This is the power you are cultivating. Not the brute force of a warrior, but the luminous presence of a sage. You are learning to hold your own inner world in the warm, unwavering light of your own kind attention. This is the truest form of self-love. It is the willingness to be present with yourself, exactly as you are. As this flame grows stronger and steadier, it will not just illuminate the fleeting contents of your mind. It will begin to penetrate the deeper, more permanent structures of your identity. It will begin to gently melt the very armor you have constructed to navigate the world. The gentle fire of your awareness, when held steadily, does more than illuminate the passing clouds of thought and emotion. It begins to warm the very ground of your being. Its light penetrates deeper, beyond the surface noise, into the very structure of your personality. And as it does, it encounters something hard, rigid, and cold to the touch. It encounters a defense system, a fortress you have long mistaken for your own skin. This is your armor, the intricate, heavy, and exhausting persona you constructed, piece by piece, to survive your journey through the world. Before we speak of its dissolution, we must first offer it our deepest reverence. You must not make the mistake of seeing this armor as your enemy. It was, for a time, your most loyal guardian. Let us look at it with the eyes of understanding. This armor was not created in a single day. It was forged in the fires of your past experiences. Each piece corresponds to a specific wound, a specific vulnerability that needed protection. That thick, polished plate over your heart. It was hammered into place the first time your trust was betrayed, the first time your open-hearted love was met with coldness. It has done its job well, deflecting countless potential hurts. The rigid pauldrons on your shoulders, forcing you to stand up straight even when you felt like collapsing. They were donned when you had to be the strong one, when you had to carry the weight of your family's expectations or your own immense responsibilities. That heavy helmet, with its visor narrowed to a tiny slit, you constructed it when the world felt too overwhelming, too bright, too loud. It helped you focus, filtering out the chaos so you could navigate a single narrow path forward. And that breastplate of intellectualism, of cynicism, of humor. It was the perfect defense against feeling too much, a brilliant shield that kept the tender, raw emotions of vulnerability safely locked away. This armor was a masterpiece of psychic engineering, born of profound necessity. It protected the soft, sensitive, sovereign child within you when the world felt too harsh. It allowed you to function, to move forward, to achieve, to endure. So, the first step in this process is not to attack it, it is to bow to it. In the quiet of your being, offer a silent word of gratitude to this complex defense system. Thank it for its service. Thank it for getting you this far. It was the guardian that ensured your survival, the shell that protected the seed of your true self so that it could arrive here, today, at this moment of potential awakening. And now, having honored it, you must also see the truth of your present reality. The armor that once saved you is now suffocating you. The fortress that once protected you has become your prison. The world has changed. You have changed. But the armor remains the same, fixed in the postures of old battles. The plate over your heart that blocks pain also blocks the entry of love, joy, and true connection. You cannot selectively numb. The rigid stance that once projected strength now prevents you from dancing, from moving with the fluid, spontaneous grace of life. The narrow visor that blocks out overwhelm also blocks out the breathtaking beauty of a sunset, the subtle kindness in a stranger's eyes, the full spectrum of lived experience. And it is so heavy. Have you ever wondered at the source of your chronic exhaustion? A significant portion of it is the sheer dead weight of this armor. It requires immense, continuous energy to hold these defensive patterns in place, day in and day out. The constant vigilance, the management of your image, the suppression of your true feelings is the most draining work in the world, and it is rigid. Life is fluid, a river, but the armor is a suit of iron. It cannot bend. So when life presents a new opportunity that requires flexibility or a new relationship that requires vulnerability, the armor resists. It creaks and groans, creating friction, awkwardness, and pain. It keeps you stuck, replaying the same limited set of responses to a world that is endlessly new. You are like a mighty tree, a great oak or a towering sequoia that by some strange accident of fate began its life inside a small ceramic pot. In the beginning, the pot was essential. It was your whole world. It held the soil, protected your tender, nascent roots, and gave you a defined, safe space in which to begin your growth. It served its purpose perfectly. But the nature of an oak tree is not to be a potted plant. Your destiny is not to be a decorative object on a windowsill. Your nature is to be a giant of the forest. Your roots are meant to delve deep into the heart of the earth, to draw up vast reserves of strength and stability. Your branches are meant to reach for the heavens, to commune with the sun and the wind, to provide shelter for 100 living creatures. Now, you have reached the limit of your container. Your roots have hit the hard ceramic walls of the pot, and finding nowhere else to go, they have begun to circle back on themselves. You have become root-bound. The ache you feel in your life, that sense of being stunted, of not living up to your potential, is the ache of a mighty tree trapped in a space 1,000 times too small for it. The pot that once nurtured you is now strangling you, and here is the terrifying, liberating truth. To reach your true size, to fulfill the blueprint of your soul, the pot must break. From the tree's perspective, this must feel like death. The container that has defined its entire reality, its only known source of safety and stability, must be shattered. It is a leap into the unknown, a surrender of the familiar for the sake of the essential. This is the moment you are in now. The cracking of the armor, the breaking of the pot, is not your demise. It is the beginning of your true life. It is the moment the tree finally claims its birthright as a citizen of the vast, open earth. How does this dissolution happen? You do not take a hammer to the pot. You do not try to rip the armor from your body. This violence would only create more trauma. Instead, you simply continue the practice you have already begun. You continue to apply the gentle, unwavering flame of your awareness. The sustained warmth of your non-judgmental attention is what makes the rigid metal of your defenses pliable. It is the heat that allows the pot to become brittle. When you feel a defensive pattern arise within you, a sarcastic comment, a sudden emotional withdrawal, a retreat into intellectual analysis, a surge of self-righteous anger, you do not condemn it. You simply shine the light on it. Ah, there it is. The armor is activating. You feel the familiar rigidity in your body, the tightening in your jaw, the closing of your heart. You observe it with the detached curiosity of the scientist. In that moment of pure seeing, you are no longer identified with the armor. You are the awareness watching the armor. And in that moment, you are choosing the tree over the pot. You are choosing the open field of reality over the cramped confines of your conditioning. Each time you do this, a micro crack appears. Each time you choose awareness over reaction, a piece of the armor becomes a little thinner, a little more transparent. This is a process of gentle erosion, not violent destruction. It is a turning toward, not a pushing away. You are learning to trust the vast, intelligent life force within you more than you trust the rigid, fear-based structures of your past. As the armor begins to dissolve and the pot begins to crack, what is revealed? The tender, sensitive, and profoundly truthful world of the body. To truly break free from the prison of the past, we must now learn to speak and understand its forgotten language, the primal, honest, and unerringly wise language of pure sensation. The old rigid armor begins to thin and crack under the gentle warmth of your awareness. As it does, something new, or rather, something ancient and long forgotten, begins to emerge into your perception. It is the feeling body. For years, perhaps for decades, you have lived from the neck up, a consciousness adrift in the abstract, time-traveling world of thought. You have treated your body as a machine, a vehicle to be fueled, disciplined, repaired, and occasionally decorated, but rarely as a source of profound wisdom. Its aches were annoyances, its tensions were defects, its deep and subtle communications were ignored in favor of the loud, incessant shouting of the mind. We are now going to correct this profound imbalance. We are going to learn the native tongue of reality itself, the primal, honest, and unerringly wise language of pure sensation. The mind tells stories, the body tells the truth. This is one of the most vital distinctions you will ever learn. The mind is a storyteller, a propagandist, a master of illusion. It deals in judgments, labels, comparisons, and complex narratives woven from the threads of past and future. The mind says, "He shouldn't have said that to me. It was disrespectful, and now I'm angry and justified in my anger." This is a story. It is a complex narrative of blame, righteousness, and personal history. The mind says, "I have an important presentation tomorrow, and I'm going to fail. Everyone will see that I'm an imposter." This is a story, a projection of future catastrophe based on past fears. These stories are the fabric of the echo chamber. The body does not speak in stories. It cannot. It lives only in the absolute, undeniable reality of the present moment. Its language is far simpler, more direct, and incapable of lies. The body's vocabulary consists of a spectrum of pure sensation: heat, cold, tingling, vibration, numbness, tightness, openness, expansion, contraction, heaviness, lightness. That is it. That is the honest, unadorned language of your lived experience. When the mind is telling its dramatic story about disrespect, the body is simply reporting, "A sensation of heat is rising in the chest and neck. There is a tightness in the jaw. There is a rapid pulsation of energy in the arms." When the mind is catastrophizing about the future presentation, the body is simply stating, "A cold, knot-like sensation is present in the solar plexus. There is a shallowness of breath." For most of our lives, we have used the mind's stories as an elaborate strategy to avoid the body's truth. The raw, physical sensation of an emotion can feel overwhelming, so the mind, in a misguided attempt to protect us, immediately launches a story. The story draws our attention away from the discomfort of the raw sensation and places it into the familiar, albeit painful realm of thought. The story becomes a distraction from the feeling. The real action, the real trapped energy, is not in the narrative. It is in the knot, the heat, the hollowness. The work of the alchemist is to learn to bypass the frantic storyteller and go directly to the source, to become a fluent speaker of the body's tongue. Let us learn some of this vocabulary now. Bring your awareness inside your body. Let your attention drift like a soft breeze from the soles of your feet, up through your legs, into your hips and belly, through your chest and back, down your arms and into your hands, up through your neck and head. You are not looking for anything in particular. You are not trying to fix or change anything. You are simply becoming curious about the language your body is speaking in this moment. Perhaps you notice an area of tightness or contraction. It might be in your shoulders, your neck, your jaw, your brow. This is the body's language of holding on, of resistance, of fear. Instead of tensing against it, see if you can meet it with a soft, curious awareness. Feel its precise texture. Is it a hard, concentrated knot or a diffuse band of tension? Does it have a center? Does it have edges? You are not analyzing it with your mind. You are exploring it with your feeling attention. This is tightness. Maybe you feel a sensation of heat or a buzzing, vibrating energy. It could be in your hands, your chest, your face. This is the language of life force, of energy in motion. We often label it anxiety or anger, but beneath the label, it is just pure, vibrant energy. Can you feel its frequency? Is it a high-pitched buzz or a low, slow thrum? Does it move or is it stationary? Meet this energy with your presence. This is vibration. You might also encounter a place that feels strangely numb, hollow, cold, or dead. Be especially gentle here. This is not a place devoid of feeling. It is a place where a tremendous amount of life force is being used to actively suppress a feeling. It is a locked door, a frozen river. The numbness is the lock. Do not try to force it open. Simply bring your warm, patient awareness to the area. Rest your attention there as you would rest a warm hand on a patch of ice, not demanding it melt, but simply offering it your presence. This is numbness, and it is a signpost pointing to a deep and protected wound. By approaching your inner world in this way, you are stripping away the layers of drama and story and dealing with the raw data of reality. My anxiety is a terrifying personal monster. A sensation of vibration in the solar plexus is a manageable, impersonal phenomenon. This shift from the psychological story to the physical sensation is the key to dissolving trapped emotional energy. Every uncomfortable sensation you discover is a pocket of unprocessed life, an emotional experience from the past that was not fully met and allowed to complete its cycle at the time. When you were a child and you felt a surge of rage, but were told to stop it, that energy had nowhere to go. It became stored in the tissues of your body as a chronic tension pattern in your jaw or shoulders. When you experienced a heartbreaking loss but had to be strong for others, that wave of grief became lodged in your chest as a perpetual ache or a feeling of hollowness. These sensations are not just historical artifacts. They are active, intelligent messages being sent to you in the present. They are your body's unerringly accurate guidance system. The knot in your stomach when you are about to agree to something that violates your integrity is a clear no. The tightness in your throat when you want to speak your truth is a signal that vital words are being held back. The expansive, warm opening in your chest when you are with a certain person or engaged in a certain activity is a clear yes. Your body is constantly speaking to you, offering you precise, real-time data about what is nourishing and what is toxic, what is true and what is false for you. Each sensation is a messenger from your inner universe. For years, you have shot the messengers on sight, numbing them, distracting yourself from them, or drowning them out with the noise of the mind. The practice now is to do the opposite. You invite the messenger in. You offer it the tea of your sustained, gentle presence. You sit with it, and without words, you ask, "What is your message for me? What truth have you been carrying for so long, waiting for me to be still enough to listen?" As you become more fluent in this profound and simple language, you are moving from being a prisoner of the mind's fictions to becoming a master of the body's truth. This is where the deepest healing takes place, by feeling these sensations fully, without resistance, in the safe, still container of your awareness. You are finally allowing the old, trapped energy to complete its journey. You are allowing the frozen rivers to melt, the locked doors to open, the ancient knots to untie. As you practice this, you begin to make different choices in your life, guided not by fear-based thoughts, but by the clear, simple wisdom of your own embodied truth. You learn what sensations signal nourishment and what sensations signal poison. You begin to consciously choose where your precious life force flows. You begin to learn the sacred art of feeding the roots, not the weeds. As you become fluent in the body's truthful language, a profound shift occurs. You are no longer a passive bystander to your own inner experience, tossed about by chaotic currents you do not understand. You have become a discerning sovereign. You can now feel, with increasing clarity, the difference between a sensation of contraction and one of expansion. A sensation that signals a move away from your truth, and one that signals a move toward it. This newfound discernment grants you a new power, and with it, a new and beautiful responsibility. It is the power of conscious cultivation, for you are now directly aware of a fundamental law of consciousness, a principle as real as gravity. Where your attention goes, your life energy flows. Think of your attention as the currency of your being. It is the water of your life, the sunlight of your mind. It is your single most precious and creative resource. Whatever you choose to pour the light of your attention upon, you are nourishing, you are growing, you are giving it more life, more substance, and more power within your reality. This is the great secret, hidden in plain sight. For most of our lives, we are unconscious of this power. Our attention is not directed, it is hijacked. It is captivated by the loudest, most dramatic, most threatening things in our environment and in our minds. We are hypnotized by the weeds. We spend our days pouring the precious water of our attention onto the thorny bushes of past grievances. We nourish the strangling vines of future anxieties. We meticulously cultivate the poison ivy of self-criticism. We stare at the curated perfection of other people's gardens while our own lies fallow. We are expert cultivators of everything we do not want. And then we stand back, exhausted and bewildered, and wonder why our inner landscape is so barren, so painful, so overgrown with thorns and bitterness. Your mind is a vast and fertile garden. Your unwavering attention is the sunlight and the water. Every single thought, every focus of your awareness is a seed. For years, you have allowed any seed that blows in on the wind of circumstance to take root. Seeds of fear from the news, seeds of comparison from social media, seeds of anger from a difficult interaction, seeds of lack from a cultural narrative of scarcity. Not only have you allowed them to take root, you have diligently watered them with the focused attention of your rumination and worry. The result is the inner world you now inhabit. But the sovereign truth is that you are the gardener. You have the power to choose which seeds to water and which to allow to wither from neglect. Let us identify some of these primary weeds so you can recognize them. Worry is a particularly insidious one. To worry is to take a seed of a negative future, a future that does not exist and has not happened, and to water it again and again with the potent energy of your fearful focus. It is, in effect, a form of prayer for what you do not want. You are rehearsing failure, practicing for disaster, and then wondering why you feel so afraid. Resentment is the act of tending to a dead, thorny bush from the past. The original hurt is over. It is gone. But you keep the memory alive. You visit it daily, pruning its thorns, checking for new signs of its ugly life, and pouring the water of your attention onto its roots, allowing it to prick you again and again in the present moment. To let a weed wither is not to say it was never there. It is to make the conscious choice to stop giving your life force to something that is dead. Comparison is the weed of looking at your neighbor's flourishing roses while ignoring the tender, beautiful sprout at your own feet. You send your life-giving attention, your water and sunlight, into someone else's garden, leaving your own to starve. Your unique destiny, your own sacred sprout, cannot grow while you are obsessing over a flower that was never meant for you. You cannot always stop the seeds of weeds from blowing into the fertile soil of your mind. They are part of the atmosphere of the world. The practice is not the impossible task of creating a sterile, seed-free environment. The practice, the art of sacred gardening, is to consciously choose not to water them. A thought of worry appears. You see it, you acknowledge it, and you gently withdraw your attention. You let that seed lie dormant on the soil, without the water of your belief or the sunlight of your focus. It will not grow. So where do you place your attention instead? You place it on the roots of your own being. You choose, as an act of will, to nourish that which gives you life, peace, and strength. This is an active, intentional, and deeply rewarding process. Let us practice now. Find the root of gratitude. For a moment, withdraw your attention from everything that is wrong, everything that is missing, everything that is broken, and search for one single simple thing in your present experience for which you can feel a flicker of thankfulness. It can be microscopic: the feeling of the chair supporting your body, the taste of your last meal, the miracle of your own breath moving in and out without any effort from you, the simple fact that you are alive, here, now, in this moment of potential transformation. When you find one thing, let your attention rest upon it. Feel the gratitude not just as a thought, but as a sensation in your body. This is the application of the most potent fertilizer to the soil of your mind. It instantly begins to shift the chemistry from lack to abundance. Find the root of presence. This connects to all our previous work. When you find your mind watering a weed of past or future, gently, firmly, bring your attention back to the anchor of the body. Feel your hands, feel your feet, feel the life inside you. You are taking the water of your attention away from the illusory weeds of time and pouring it directly onto the sacred ground of the now. The now is always peaceful. It is the thoughts about it that are not. By watering the now, you cultivate the deep-rooted tree of peace. Find the root of beauty. Consciously look around your immediate environment or call to mind an image and find one thing of beauty. The way the light is falling on a surface, the intricate design of a wood grain, the particular shade of a color. Let your attention drink in this beauty with no other motive than to appreciate it. This practice pulls your awareness away from the problem-solving, analytical mind and nourishes the soul with the simple, elegant truth of what is. Find the root of compassion. When the weed of the inner critic appears, with its familiar, harsh voice, your old habit was to water it by believing it. The new practice is to shift your attention. Instead of focusing on the content of the criticism, bring your attention to the feeling of compassion for the one who is suffering, the one who feels the need to criticize. You place the gentle water of kindness on the wound, not the salt of your judgment. You are the gardener. You are not at the mercy of your thoughts or the random seeds of circumstance. The power to cultivate a beautiful, thriving inner world has always been yours. You are simply learning, now, how to wield it consciously. Every moment of your day presents this choice, again and again. In this moment, will you water the weeds, or will you nourish the roots? As you begin to practice this conscious cultivation of the good, it can sometimes feel like hard work. It can feel like you are swimming against the powerful, lifelong current of your old, negative habits. But what if there were a deeper, more powerful current that you could learn to align with? A universal force of grace, just waiting for you to stop struggling and allow it to carry you. We have spoken of cultivation, of conscious choice, of the gardener's work in tending to the roots of being. This is a vital and empowering stage of the journey. It is the reclaiming of your creative power. But to remain only in this stage is to carry a subtle and heavy burden. It is to believe that the entire vast work of your transformation rests solely upon your own small shoulders. It is to believe that you, with your limited willpower and fleeting focus, must single-handedly manage the infinite complexities of your inner garden. This is a heroic but ultimately exhausting path. There comes a point where the gardener must rest, where the doer must step aside and allow a far greater, silent intelligence to take over. There is a moment when the swimmer must cease their frantic kicking and discover that the water itself can hold them. This is the discovery of grace. It is the pivot from the strain of doing to the relief of being done through. It is the shift from willpower to willingness. We must first redefine this word, grace. It has been laden with many religious and cultural connotations. For our purpose, let us see grace as a fundamental principle of the universe, as real and as constant as gravity. Grace is the invisible intelligence that guides a seed to sprout, that meticulously designs the frost on a window pane, that orchestrates the migration of birds over continents. It is the intelligence that is healing a cut on your finger at this very moment, without any conscious instruction or effort from you. It is the silent, organizing, life-affirming force that permeates all of existence. Grace is not a reward you must earn through good behavior. It is not a force you must plead with or summon. It is the very fabric of reality, the underlying current of life itself. The problem has never been an absence of grace. The problem has been our own tension, our own resistance, our own desperate egoic need to control, which creates a dam that blocks our awareness of the ever-present, supportive flow. Imagine your life is a great, flowing river. This river is grace. Its current is the unfolding of universal intelligence, and its ultimate destination is the ocean, the vast, boundless expanse of peace, wholeness, and reunion with your true nature. You are a single leaf that has fallen into this river. For most of your life, you have been taught that you must swim. You have been told that the river is dangerous, its currents treacherous, and that you must get to the ocean on your own terms, through your own heroic effort. So you have spent your life fighting. You have tried to swim upstream, paddling furiously against the current, trying to get back to a familiar bend in the river you call the past. You have exhausted yourself trying to cling to the riverbank, to a dead branch of a relationship or a patch of muddy ground called your comfort zone, terrified of being swept into the unknown. You have believed that your frantic, personal effort is all that matters. This struggle, this constant resistance to the natural flow of your own life, is the primary source of your deepest fatigue. You are fighting the very force that is trying to carry you home. Surrender is the moment the leaf stops struggling. It is not an act of giving up. It is not defeat. It is the supreme act of intelligence, the moment of profound sanity where the leaf realizes that the river knows the way to the ocean far better than it does. It is the moment the leaf stops paddling, lets go of the branch, turns over onto its back, and for the first time feels the full, supportive power of the water beneath it. It looks up at the sky passing above, feels the effortless momentum, and trusts. It trusts the current. This is the state of flow. When you cease your resistance, you align yourself with the greater current of grace, and things begin to happen with an ease that your struggling self could never have imagined. Synchronicities appear. The right person calls. The perfect book falls off a shelf. An unexpected opportunity arises. This is not magic in the sense of violating reality. It is the natural result of removing your own self-generated friction from the system. You have stopped trying to force life to bend to your will, and have instead allowed your will to harmonize with the will of life itself. So how does one practice this art of surrender, especially when the habit of control is so deeply ingrained? It begins with the body. Your resistance is not just a mental attitude, it is a physical posture. Feel your body right now. Where are you holding tension? In your clenched jaw? In your raised shoulders? In the tight knot in your stomach? This physical tension is the signature of the ego trying to hold the world together. It is the posture of the leaf trying to swim upstream. The first act of surrender is physical. Consciously, as an act of trust in this moment, allow those muscles to soften. Take a deep breath in, and on the exhale, let a wave of release move through your body. Let your shoulders drop. Unclench your jaw. Allow your body to feel heavy, fully supported by the chair, by the ground, by the earth itself. This physical act of letting go sends a powerful signal to your entire nervous system. It is safe to let go. I am supported. The next layer is mental surrender. This is the release of the frantic need to figure it all out. Your mind, with its limited data, cannot possibly compute all the variables of your life. To believe it can is the height of arrogance. Mental surrender is to humbly acknowledge this. It is to release the illusion that you are the general manager of the universe. You can practice this with a simple inner statement, a mantra of release. Something like, I release my need to know. I release my need to control. I trust the unfolding process of my life. I am willing to be shown the way. This is not a passive, hopeful wish. It is an active, conscious release of the mind's anxious grip, creating a space for a higher intelligence to operate. Finally, there is emotional surrender. This is the willingness to allow all feelings to arise and pass through you without the need to manage, fix, or suppress them. When a wave of sadness or fear appears, instead of tensing against it, you relax into it. You trust that the vast ocean of your being can handle the wave. You trust that grace is big enough to hold your grief, your fear, your rage. You let the energy move, trusting that the current will carry it through you and back to the sea, leaving you cleansed and clear. This is a new paradigm for living. You are not a lone soldier fighting an uphill battle against a hostile world. You are a dancer, learning to hear the music of the cosmos and move in harmony with its rhythm. Your primary work shifts from forcing external outcomes to maintaining your own inner state of openness, trust, and alignment. You tend to your garden, you keep your inner house in order, and you trust the great river of grace to handle the journey. As you learn to float more and resist less, your perception of everything begins to change. You start to see that the world around you is not a random collection of obstacles and accidents. You begin to notice that the people and circumstances you encounter are not there by chance. They are reflections. They are mirrors, perfectly placed by the current to show you exactly where you are still, in some small way, trying to swim against the flow. As you learn to relax into the supportive current of grace, your perception of the world undergoes a profound reorientation. The frantic personal struggle begins to subside, and you start to see with new eyes. You begin to notice that the world is not a random, chaotic battlefield, but a highly intelligent, responsive classroom. And the most potent, challenging, and accelerated lessons in this classroom are delivered to you through your relationships with other people. For years, you have seen others as separate entities, as sources of your pleasure or your pain, as allies or as adversaries. You are about to discover a much deeper and more liberating truth. Every person in your life, especially those who disturb your peace, is a mirror, reflecting a hidden aspect of your own consciousness back to you. This is the mirror principle. It states that you do not see the world or others as they are. You see them as you are. Your consciousness is not a clear window pane, but a projector. It is constantly projecting your own unresolved inner energies, your fears, your insecurities, your judgments, your disowned strengths and weakness, onto the seemingly blank canvas of the people you interact with. When someone triggers you, when they provoke a strong, disproportionate emotional reaction, they have not created that reaction. They have simply, and often unconsciously, struck a pre-existing unhealed wound within you. The intensity of your own reaction is the crucial clue. It is a diagnostic tool of pinpoint accuracy. A person who is whole and at peace within themselves is not easily triggered. A strong reaction always points directly to a raw, tender, unhealed place within your own psyche. Let us make this concrete. If you find yourself repeatedly and intensely angered by people you perceive as arrogant, the mirror is showing you one of two things. Either it is reflecting your own suppressed arrogance, a part of your own ego that you have judged and denied, or it is reflecting a deep-seated insecurity about your own worth. In the latter case, another person's confidence feels like a personal attack because you have not yet learned to stand firmly in your own. The mirror of their arrogance is simply illuminating your own lack of self-validation. If you are constantly irritated by people you see as lazy, incompetent, or irresponsible, they are a mirror for the relentless, merciless slave driver that lives inside of you. They are reflecting the part of you that is terrified of rest, terrified of imperfection, the part that believes your worth is solely dependent on your productivity. Their relaxation feels threatening to your inner tyrant. If you find yourself feeling deeply hurt and unseen by people who seem dismissive or unavailable, they are a mirror for the way in which you dismiss your own feelings and make your own needs unavailable to yourself. You are seeking a quality from them that you are not yet giving to yourself. This brings us to a more powerful metaphor. Imagine that your inner world is a vast film archive and your consciousness is the projector. This archive contains every film reel ever produced by your experiences. The feature film of I Am Not Worthy, the tragic drama of I Will Be Betrayed, the terrifying horror movie of The World is a Dangerous Place. As you walk through life, this projector is always running, silently casting these films onto the people and situations you encounter. Other people are simply the neutral screens upon which your inner movies are played. For most of our lives, when a painful movie starts projecting, let's say, the familiar classic, "Nobody respects me," our instinct is to attack the screen. We yell at the person who is serving as the screen. We blame them, criticize them, try to reason with them, beg them to be a different kind of screen so we don't have to watch this awful movie. We spend our lives running around the grand cinema of the world, trying to manage, fix, and control all the screens, an impossible and soul-crushingly exhausting task. We never realize that the movie is not coming from the screen, it is coming from us. The Alchemist, the conscious creator, understands this. When the painful movie begins to play, they do not engage with the screen. They feel the familiar sting of the trigger, and instead of reacting outward, they turn inward. They use the trigger as a cue. They say to themselves, "Ah, the Nobody Respects Me film is running again, an old classic from my archive." They withdraw their attention from the external person and go into the projection room of their own mind. They ask the real questions. What is this film reel made of? What is the original wound that created it? What part of me does not yet respect myself, causing me to be so sensitive to the perceived disrespect of others? The work is to heal the film, not to blame the screen. This shift in perspective is the key to reclaiming your power and ending the cycle of victimhood. It leads to a radical, transformative practice. The next time you are triggered by someone, in that precious gap between the stimulus and your habitual reaction, pause, take one conscious breath. Feel the hot, reactive energy surging through your body. Now, instead of unleashing it upon the other person, turn your attention inward, and in the silence of your own heart, you perform an act of profound spiritual maturity. You say, silently, to the person who is acting as your mirror, "Thank you. Thank you for showing me this. Thank you for revealing this unhealed place within me. Thank you for agreeing, at some soul level, to play this role for me so that I could finally see this wound. Thank you for being the messenger." This act is revolutionary. It completely short-circuits the ego's reflexive desire to blame, to be right, and to make the other person wrong. It instantly dissolves the energy of conflict. It takes you from the powerless position of the victim and places you firmly in the empowered seat of the alchemist, the student who is grateful for the lesson. The person who triggers you most intensely is not your adversary. They are your guru. They are your most potent and dedicated spiritual teacher, sent by the river of grace to offer you a golden key. They are pointing with perfect, unerring accuracy to the very next door you need to unlock in your own journey of healing. The freedom this brings is immeasurable. Your peace is no longer held hostage by the behavior of your spouse, your boss, your children, or strangers on the internet. Your inner state is no longer contingent upon the world conforming to your preferences. Every interaction, especially the difficult ones, becomes an opportunity for deeper self-knowledge and integration. The world transforms from a dangerous place filled with potential aggressors into a wise and compassionate mirror, always, always guiding you back home to yourself. This practice of seeing the world as a reflection and taking radical responsibility for your inner projector requires a powerful agent to dissolve the old, hardened habits of blame and grievance. To truly change the film reel, we must apply the most powerful solvent known to the human heart. We must learn the true art of forgiveness. There is perhaps no word in the spiritual lexicon more misunderstood, more weighted down with obligation and resistance than the word forgiveness. For many of us, it conjures images of weakness, of letting someone off the hook, of condoning harmful behavior. It can feel like a profound injustice, a demand to betray our own pain. We must begin by dismantling these myths. In the laboratory of the soul, forgiveness is not a moral duty owed to another. It is a fiercely intelligent act of self-preservation. It is the universal solvent, the one chemical agent capable of dissolving the hardest, most crystallized structures of pain that imprison you. Let us be clear about what forgiveness is not. It is not saying that what happened was okay. It is not forgetting. It is not necessarily reconciliation. You can forgive someone completely and still choose, from a place of clear wisdom, to never have them in your life again. Forgiveness does not excuse the other person's behavior. It simply frees you from it. Most importantly, forgiveness is not something you do for the other person. It is an act of profound and radical self-love. The other person may never know you have forgiven them. They may not care. It has nothing to do with them. It is a private transaction between you and the universe, a declaration of your own liberation. To understand its power, we must first look at the nature of its opposite, unforgiveness. Holding on to a grievance, a resentment, a hatred, is like grasping a burning piece of charcoal in your clenched fist with the intention of someday throwing it at the person who hurt you. You rehearse the throw in your mind. You nurture the fantasy of their pain. But all the while, whose hand is being blistered and blackened? Whose arm is aching from the tension of the clench? Whose energy is being consumed, day after day, to keep the coal hot? The only person you are burning is yourself. Unforgiveness is a prison cell you build for one, but you are the one who serves the life sentence. When you hold a grievance, you are energetically and permanently chained to the person and the event that hurt you. They are free, living their life, perhaps not giving you a second thought. Meanwhile, you remain in the cell, willingly replaying the old film of your pain on a loop, re-wounding yourself with every viewing. You are shackled to a ghost. The bitterness of unforgiveness is a slow-acting acid that corrodes your own inner world. It taints your present moments with the flavor of the past. It makes it impossible to float in the river of grace because you have dropped a heavy, immovable anchor of resentment into the muddy bank of an old injury. It drains your life force, fuels the ego's story of victimhood, and blocks the flow of love, joy, and peace into your life. It is a form of self-harm disguised as righteousness. Forgiveness, then, is the simple, courageous, and deeply sane act of opening your hand and dropping the hot coal. It is the cancellation of a debt. But the debt is not one the other person owes you. It is the debt of suffering you believe life owes you. You are the one carrying the heavy ledger, demanding a payment that will never come, because, even if it did, it could not erase the original pain. Forgiveness is the moment you decide to close the books. You declare the debt paid, not because it was, but because you are no longer willing to bear the cost of carrying it. It is a purely internal act of release. It is the moment you look at the energetic chains that bind you to your past pain, and you decide that your freedom is more important than your grievance. You say, with the full authority of your sovereign self, "I am no longer willing to sacrifice my present peace for the sake of my past pain. I am no longer willing to allow your past actions to dictate my current reality. I reclaim my energy. I reclaim my power. I reclaim my life." End of. Imagine a thick, dark, energetic cord extending from your solar plexus, connecting you directly to the person or event you have not forgiven. Through this cord, your precious life force is continuously being siphoned away to feed the ghost of the past. Forgiveness is the act of taking a pair of shining golden shears and, with a conscious act of will, severing that cord. You are not sending the other person love or light unless that feels authentic to you. You are simply cutting yourself free. You are calling your energy, your attention, and your power back home to yourself, where it belongs. So how does one perform this sacred act, especially when the wounds are deep? It is a process, one that requires honesty and willingness. The first step is to fully acknowledge the pain. You cannot release what you have not first owned. Do not rush to a premature, superficial forgiveness. Give your anger, your grief, and your sense of injustice a voice. Write it down in a journal without censorship. Speak it aloud in a room by yourself. Tell the story to a trusted friend or therapist. Allow the wave of emotion to move through you in the safe container of your presence. Honor your wound. The second step is to clearly and honestly recognize the price you are paying for holding on to the resentment. Look at what the hot coal is costing you. Is it costing you your physical health, your mental peace, your ability to trust in new relationships, your capacity for joy? You must see with absolute clarity that the ongoing price of your unforgiveness is far, far greater than any satisfaction you derive from your righteousness. The third step is to make a conscious choice. Forgiveness is a decision, not a feeling. The feeling of release may or may not come immediately. You make a choice from your highest self, the sovereign on the throne, for the sake of your own liberation. You say, "For my own freedom, for my own peace of mind, I now choose to let this go. I choose to forgive." You may need to make this choice 100 times. Every time the old, bitter thought pattern arises, you meet it with your conscious decision. That is the practice. The final step is the ritual of release. This can take many forms. You can write a long, detailed letter to the person, pouring out every ounce of your pain and anger onto the pages. Hold nothing back. And then, in a safe place, burn the letter. As you watch the pages turn to ash and the smoke rise, visualize the energetic cord connecting you to that person dissolving into nothingness. Or use the hot coal metaphor directly. Close your eyes and visualize the burning coal of your grievance in your hand. Feel its heat, its weight. Acknowledge what it represents. And then, with a deep exhalation, consciously open the fingers of your mind's hand and let it drop. Watch it fall away from you, down into a bottomless abyss, until it disappears completely. Then, feel the coolness, the lightness, the freedom in your own empty hand. Forgiveness is the great purifier. It is the alchemical solvent that cleans the beakers and vials of your inner laboratory, dissolving the crystallized residue of past pains. It frees up immense reservoirs of your life force that were previously locked in the task of guarding old wounds and fueling old hatreds. The waters of your being, once muddied by resentment, become clear and receptive once more. And as the old polarized energies of blame and victimhood dissolve, you begin to find a new center of gravity within yourself. You discover a place of profound stability beyond the violent swings of good and bad, right and wrong. You discover the quiet power of the sacred neutral. The universal solvent of forgiveness has moved through the laboratory of your soul, dissolving the crystallized structures of blame and the heavy anchor of resentment. The inner world, once torn by the violent, polarized energies of right and wrong, victim and aggressor, begins to settle. In the clear, quiet space that is left, a new quality of consciousness can finally be perceived. It is a state the ego mind can barely comprehend, for the ego thrives on conflict, defines itself by comparison, and draws its very lifeblood from the drama of polarity. This new territory is the land of the sacred neutral. This state is not indifference. It is not apathy or cold detachment. It is a dynamic, vibrant, and profoundly powerful state of pure being. It is the discovery of the silent, unshakable ground beneath the tumultuous surface of your life. To understand its significance, we must first appreciate the game the mind has been playing. The untrained mind operates exclusively in pairs of opposites: good and bad, right and wrong, success and failure, pleasure and pain, like and dislike. Your entire sense of self has been constructed upon this rickety foundation of duality. You believe you are this because you are not that. Imagine your life as a pendulum, constantly swinging. On one side is the peak of a good experience. You receive praise, you achieve a goal, you feel a moment of intense pleasure. You cling to this high, desperately trying to make it last. But the nature of a pendulum is to swing. Your clinging and desire create the momentum that inevitably sends you arcing toward the other side, the trough of a bad experience. You are criticized, you fail, you feel pain. Now, you desperately resist this low, pushing against it, which in turn fuels its swing back toward the other side. This is the cycle of suffering, the constant, exhausting oscillation between craving and aversion. Your inner peace is entirely conditional, held hostage by whether external events are aligning with the good side of the swing. You are a ship tossed on the waves, celebrating when you reach a crest, despairing when you fall into a trough, never realizing that your true nature is not the wave, but the deep, vast, undisturbed ocean beneath. The discovery of the sacred neutral is the discovery that you are the ocean, not the wave. It is the realization that there is a point of absolute stillness at the very center of all the motion. This is the eye of the storm. Imagine the totality of your life circumstances, the gains and losses, the joys and sorrows, the praise and the blamiers, a great, powerful cyclone. For most of your life, you have been living out in the storm, identifying with the howling winds. When the winds of success blew, you felt elated. When the winds of failure blew, you felt shattered. You have been thrown about, bruised, and exhausted by the storm of your own life, believing that you are the wind. But at the exact center of every cyclone, there exists a point of paradoxical calm. The sky is clear. The air is perfectly still. From this silent center, one can watch the entire, furious spectacle of the storm as it rages. This calm, powerful center is the sacred neutral. It is not separate from the storm, it is the axis upon which the entire storm revolves. It is a place of pure potential and unshakable power. Your true self is not the wind, it is the I. The great work of this stage is to learn to shift your identity from the chaos of the periphery to the calm of the center. From here, you can observe the winds of your life howl and rage. You can witness the drama of your own story, feel the sting of loss, feel the warmth of success. But you are no longer swept away by them. You are the stillness at the heart of the movement. How then do you find your way to this I in the midst of your life's storms? You have already been practicing. The portal to the sacred neutral is the timeless present moment. The anchor of your breath and the felt sense of your inner body are your gateways to the eye of the storm. When a powerful event occurs, positive or negative, the untrained mind is immediately hooked and pulled out into the winds of reaction. The practice is to use the event itself as a cue to return to your center. A wave of praise comes your way. Instead of soaring on the wind of egoic pride, you feel the sensation in your body, you feel your breath, and you observe the pleasant feeling from the calm of the eye. A wave of criticism comes. Instead of being dashed by the wind of shame, you immediately drop your anchor into the present moment, feel the sting in your body, and watch the storm of defensive thoughts from the safety of your center. You are pulling your identity out of the story and grounding it in pure, present moment being. From this center, you can practice a form of deep inquiry. When you feel yourself identified with a role, a feeling, or a belief, you can gently ask, am I this success? Am I this failure? Am I this anger? Am I this body that aches? The honest answer is always no. You are the awareness in which the success, the failure, the anger, and the aching body are all appearing. You are the silent, spacious sky, not the passing weather. By gently disidentifying from the contents of your experience, you naturally come to rest as the context, the container, the space in which all experience happens. This space is the sacred neutral. From this unshakable ground, your relationship with life is transformed. You no longer need the world to be a certain way for you to be at peace. You develop the profound capacity to hold both pain and pleasure in your awareness without being controlled by either. You see that they are two sides of the same coin, two inseparable poles of the dance of human experience. From the eye of the storm, you can feel the warmth of joy without clinging to it, and you can feel the sting of loss without being shattered by it, because you know that you are the unchanging, silent presence that contains and transcends both. This is the source of true equanimity. This is the bedrock of resilience. Your peace is no longer a fragile thing, dependent on a perfect arrangement of external conditions. It becomes an unconditional quality of your own being. You become a stabilizing presence in the world, a quiet eye of the storm for those around you, because you are no longer tossed about by the relentless dramas of life. You have found the unshakable ground. From this stable, neutral ground of pure being, something extraordinary begins to occur. Fleeting moments of clarity, born from the stillness and the fire of observation, start to link together. They begin to gain substance, to solidify under the gentle pressure of your continued presence. The floating mist of confusion begins to coalesce and harden into the diamond of true insight. You are standing on the stable ground of the sacred neutral. The storm of reactivity has subsided, and the waters of your awareness, no longer churned by the winds of polarity, have become clear. In this profound clarity, a new kind of seeing becomes possible, and a new substance begins to form within you. For most of your life, you have been accumulating knowledge. You have gathered information, beliefs, opinions, and philosophies from books, teachers, and the outside world. This is the mind collecting external data. But now, something different begins to form from deep within the core of your being. It is not knowledge, it is wisdom. And wisdom is not learned from another. It is crystallized from the raw material of your own, fully inhabited life. We must make a clear distinction between these two. Knowledge is conceptual. It is a map. Wisdom is experiential. It is the territory itself. Knowledge resides in the thinking mind as a second-hand theory. Wisdom resides in your bones, in your very cells, as a first-hand, undeniable truth. Knowledge is knowing the path. Wisdom is having walked the path. You can read 1,000 books on the nature of fire, and you will have a great deal of knowledge, but you only gain the wisdom of fire when you have felt its warmth on your skin. You can have the knowledge that forgiveness is good for you, a concept stored in your memory, but you only gain the wisdom of forgiveness in the moment you feel the hot coal of resentment drop from your hand and the cool relief flood your own being. Our world worships knowledge, but it is starving for wisdom. The alchemical journey is the sacred process of turning the lead of your raw, messy, lived experience into the pure gold of embodied wisdom. To understand this miracle of inner transformation, let us use a metaphor from the earth itself. Think of the raw, painful, confusing experiences of your past, your betrayals, your failures, your moments of deep shame, your seasons of grief. This is the common, everyday carbon of human existence. For years, you have seen this carbon as black, dirty, and worthless. You have tried to sweep it under the rug of your consciousness, to hide it, to deny it, to pretend it was not a part of you. You judged your life by the presence of this messy, dark material, believing it was a sign of your imperfection. The alchemical processes we have been exploring, the stillness, the fire of pure observation, the willingness to stay present with discomfort, from the sacred neutral air, the equivalent of immense geological pressure and heat. By bringing your unwavering, non-judgmental awareness, the pressure, to bear upon your raw, painful experience, the carbon, you create the precise, necessary conditions for transformation. Most people, when they feel the pressure of a painful memory or a difficult emotion, immediately run. They distract themselves, numb themselves, or project the blame outward. They do anything to escape the pressure. The alchemist, the courageous student of the soul, does the opposite. They lean into it. They stay. They allow the full pressure of reality to be present, holding it all within the strong, safe container of their stillness. Under this sustained, loving pressure, a miracle of inner physics occurs. The molecular structure of the experience begins to rearrange itself. The chaotic, messy, disorganized carbon of a painful memory, when held in the light of pure awareness, begins to form a coherent, crystalline lattice. The personal story begins to fall away. The blame, the self-pity, the drama, or the impurities that made the experience feel so dense and painful are burned off as dross. What is left is a single, clear, simple, and indestructible point of truth. The common carbon of your pain has crystallized into a diamond of pure insight. Let us watch this happen. The messy carbon of a devastating betrayal, which for years was the story of how they wronged me, is held under the steady pressure of your presence. The story dissolves, and the experience crystallizes into the simple, luminous diamond of wisdom. My sense of wholeness cannot be given or taken away by another. The black dust of a humiliating public failure, which was the story of "I am a fraud," is subjected to the gentle heat of your self-compassion. The narrative of shame burns away, leaving the brilliant diamond. My inherent value is unconditional and is never dependent on external outcomes. The dense, heavy carbon of a long illness, which was the story of "my body has failed me," is held in the stillness of your being. The fear and resistance dissolve, and the experience crystallizes into the diamond. My true self is the indestructible consciousness that is aware of this body, not the body itself. Do you see the nature of this transformation? These insights are not just positive affirmations you repeat to yourself. They are not nice ideas you have adopted. They are diamonds. They have been forged in the core of your own being from the very substance of your life. Once you have formed such a diamond, once you have crystallized a piece of your own pain into wisdom, no one can ever convince you that it is just a piece of coal again. The knowing is absolute, unshakable, and self-evident. This crystallized wisdom has several distinct qualities. First, it is always simple. The mind creates complexity, but wisdom cuts through it like a blade of light. It reduces a whole library of painful stories into a single, elegant sentence of truth. Second, while it is born from your most personal pain, The resulting insight is universal and impersonal. It is a law of the cosmos that you have discovered firsthand. It belongs to everyone, but you have earned the right to wield it because you have mined it from your own depths. Finally, a single diamond of insight is generative. It radiates light into every other corner of your life. The wisdom you gain from processing a failure in your career becomes a lamp you can carry into your relationships, your health, and your spiritual practice. Your past is no longer a heavy burden you must drag behind you. It is no longer a source of shame or regret. It becomes a treasure chest. You begin to look back at the most difficult moments of your life, not with horror, but with a strange and quiet reverence. You see that those moments of intense pressure were not punishments. They were crucibles. They were the sacred laboratories where the universe, in its infinite intelligence, was forging your most precious and enduring jewels. You would not trade them, for to do so would be to trade your own hard-won wisdom. As you begin to gather these diamonds of insight, as you see them accumulating within your consciousness, you are, in effect, forging the regalia of your own inner royalty. You are building the foundation of a new kind of self-governance, one based not on the shifting sands of fear, conditioning, or the opinions of others, but on the bedrock of unshakable, embodied truth. You are finally ready to take your seat on the throne. You are ready to claim the sovereignty of your inner kingdom. The journey inward has led you here, to the very center of your being. You have walked through the haunted echo chamber of your mind and emerged into the light. You have faced the raw, unrefined ore of your existence and recognized its value. You have learned the forgotten language of your body, and you have forged indestructible diamonds of wisdom from the carbon of your pain. The arduous work of purification and preparation is complete. The inner laboratory has been transformed into a throne room. Before you now is a seat. It is not made of cold gold or studded with jewels of the earth. It is carved from the substance of pure presence. It is solid, simple, and unadorned, and it radiates a silent, unshakable power. This is the seat of your own awareness, the throne of your inner kingdom. It has been waiting for you since the beginning of time, through all your wanderings and all your forgetting. The unseen crown, which once felt so heavy upon the stooped back of the beggar, now feels light and perfectly balanced. It is time to take your seat. As you do, as you consciously accept this role, let us be clear about the nature of the kingdom you are now to govern. Your kingdom is the entire territory of your inner experience. Its subjects are your thoughts, your emotions, your memories, your beliefs, and your sensations. For years, this kingdom has been in a state of chaos. It was a land without a ruler, a territory in turmoil. Tyrant thoughts ran rampant, proclaiming doom and spreading fear. Rebel emotions rose up in violent insurrection, hijacking your nervous system and plunging the kingdom into chaos. And foreign invaders, the opinions, expectations, and judgments of others were allowed to cross the borders freely, plundering your peace and sowing seeds of self-doubt. You, the true and only sovereign, were living in exile in a far corner of your own land, dreaming you were a powerless victim of all this upheaval. Taking your seat on the throne is a declaration that this old regime is over. It is the establishment of a new order, an order based not on fear or force, but on the calm, clear-eyed authority of your own awakened consciousness. It is an order governed by the laws of the wisdom you have so dearly earned. The life of the exile, the life of the beggar, is the life of a single dried leaf, utterly at the mercy of the wind. The slightest breeze of criticism, the sudden gust of bad news, the shifting currents of another person's mood, all of it sends you tumbling, spinning chaotically, with no will or direction of your own. The sovereign is not the leaf, the sovereign is the mountain. Become the mountain now. Feel its immense stability and rootedness. The mountain is utterly and completely itself. It is grounded deep in the core of the earth, solid, present, and enduring. The mountain does not fight the weather. It allows the weather to be what it is, knowing that its own essential nature is untouchable. The clouds that drift across the sky are your thoughts. Sometimes they are light, white, and fluffy. Sometimes they are dark, heavy, and pregnant with rain. The mountain observes the passing of all clouds, knowing it is not the clouds. It is the vast, stable presence that allows the clouds to drift through its airspace. The wind that blows against its slopes is your emotion. Sometimes it is a gentle, warm breeze of joy that makes the trees on its surface dance. Sometimes it is a howling gale of rage or a bitter, cold wind of grief. The mountain feels the full force of the wind, yet it is not uprooted, it is not moved. Its core of solid rock remains firm. The rain, the snow, the sunshine, these are the circumstances of your life, the pleasure and the pain, the gain and the loss. The mountain receives it all without resistance, allowing life to wash over its surface, knowing that it remains fundamentally unchanged. To be the mountain is your practice now. When a strong thought or emotion appears, you feel it fully, you acknowledge its presence, and you remain rooted in the unshakable stillness of your mountain-like being. You are the stability in the midst of the ever-changing weather of your life. This is not a passive state. It is a state of immense, quiet power. And with this power comes profound responsibility. Sovereignty is not a license for self-indulgence or dictatorial control. It is a sacred trust. Your first responsibility is simply this: to not abdicate your throne, to stay in your seat. The moment you unconsciously identify with a thought, the moment you let an emotion become your master, the moment you blame an external person or event for your inner state, you have, in that instant, abdicated. You have stood up from your throne and handed the royal scepter to a fleeting thought or a rebel emotion. The kingdom plunges back into chaos. Your practice is to notice this abdication as quickly as possible and without self-judgment, to gently but firmly take your seat again and again and again. Your second responsibility is that of a benevolent ruler. A wise sovereign does not execute every subject that is unruly or disagreeable. You do not try to annihilate your negative thoughts or banish your difficult emotions. This only creates civil war. Instead, you meet all your subjects with the calm authority of your presence. You listen to their messages, you acknowledge their presence, you extend compassion to the parts of you that are afraid or in pain, but you do not let them run the kingdom. You are the one who makes the final decisions, guided by the clear light of your wisdom, not the panicked cries of your fears. Your final responsibility is to maintain the integrity of your kingdom's borders. A sovereign has the right and the duty to decide what and who is allowed entry. This means you must begin to consciously curate the influences you allow into your inner world. You are no longer a passive receptacle for the world's chaos. You choose the media you consume. You choose the conversations you participate in. You choose the people with whom you share your precious energy. You do this not from a place of fear or elitism, but from a place of profound love and respect for the peace and stability of the kingdom you have worked so hard to restore. To claim your sovereignty is to declare the end of blame. It is the final, irrevocable death of the victim story. It is the acceptance of radical, 100% responsibility for the quality of your own inner world. From this throne, from this mountain-like stability, you become the ultimate creative force in your life. No person, no circumstance, no memory from the past or fear of the future can dethrone you. Only you can give your power away. And you are learning, with every breath, to no longer do so. As you sit upon this throne, established in the quiet power of your own being, you begin to notice something remarkable. You are not just a passive, stable mountain. You are a broadcasting tower. The internal state of your kingdom, the quality of your being, creates a vibrational field that extends far beyond you, subtly but powerfully influencing the very fabric of the reality you experience. From the throne of your inner kingdom, from the unshakable peak of the mountain, you are no longer just a passive observer of your reality. You have become its primary creative force. You are a broadcasting tower, but you do not broadcast thoughts, words, or images. You broadcast a frequency, a vibration, a silent, powerful music that emanates from the core of your being. And in doing so, you engage with a great and subtle law of the cosmos, the law of vibrational resonance. This law states a simple, profound truth. The universe does not respond to what you want. It responds to who you are. It does not hear the words of your requests. It feels the music of your state. Everything in existence, from the chair you are sitting on to the most distant star, is energy. Everything is in a state of vibration. This is a truth understood by both ancient mystics and modern quantum physicists. Your own state of being, the sum total of your dominant thoughts, your prevailing emotions, your deepest held beliefs is no different. It is a complex, resonant field of energy. It is a vibrational signature that is utterly unique to you in this moment. A state of being that is rooted in fear, scarcity, and resentment has a low, dense, and contracted frequency. It is a heavy, discordant note. A state of being that is rooted in peace, gratitude, and love has a high, light, and expansive frequency. It is a clear, harmonious tone. The law of resonance is simple. Like attracts like. Your vibrational output acts as a cosmic tuning fork. It strikes a clear note into the infinite, creative field of potential that is the universe. And the universe, in its infallible responsiveness, organizes experiences, people, and circumstances that resonate with that same frequency. It brings you more of what you already are. This is the great secret that dissolves all striving. The universe is not a distant deity to be petitioned. It is a perfect, impartial mirror, reflecting your own music back to you. For years, you may have been pleading for joy while broadcasting a frequency of sorrow. You may have been affirming abundance while emanating a vibration of lack. The music of your state always drowns out the words of your mouth. Imagine that you are a finely crafted musical instrument, a cello or a harp, designed to play the most beautiful, celestial music. Your soul is the resonant wooden body of the instrument, and your mind, your emotions, and your nervous system are the strings. For most of your life, you have been an untuned instrument, left out in the rain of circumstance. Your strings have been tightened to a painful, sharp pitch by the anxieties of your past, and slackened to a dull thud by the weight of your unprocessed grief. The string of your self-worth has been caked with the grime of old shame. The string of trust has been tightened to the breaking point of hypervigilance. When life, the great bow, draws itself across these untuned strings, what kind of music can possibly be produced? Only a discordant, jarring, and mournful tune. And the universe, the great concert hall, hearing this sad music, can only reflect that sound. It sends you more experiences that match its harmony, more reasons to feel anxious, more people who reflect your lack of self-worth, more circumstances that confirm your belief that life is a sorrowful struggle. All the inner work you have undertaken on this journey, dissolving the armor, forgiving the past, finding the sacred neutral, has been the sacred act of tuning your instrument. Each time you consciously choose gratitude over complaint, you are gently tightening the string of abundance to its perfect, resonant pitch. Each time you drop a hot coal of resentment, you are loosening the overwrought string of bitterness back to a place of warm, resonant harmony. Each time you rest in the sacred neutral, you are allowing the entire instrument to settle into its natural state, free from the warping pressures of polarity. You are tuning yourself. Now, as a finely tuned instrument, life, the great bow, still draws across your strings. The events of the world still happen, but the music that now emanates from you is entirely different. It is a symphony of peace, of clarity, of compassion, of quiet strength. And the universe, hearing this coherent and beautiful music, responds in kind. It has no choice. It sends you experiences that resonate with peace. It brings you people who mirror your own clarity and compassion. It presents you with opportunities that align perfectly with the graceful music of your own being. You have not changed the world by force. You have changed your music, and the acoustic reality of the world you inhabit has changed in response. This understanding initiates a radical shift from a paradigm of wanting to one of being. The old way is the way of the beggar, chasing, grasping, needing, wanting. This posture, by its very nature, broadcasts a powerful vibration of lack. To say I want more money is to sing a powerful song called I do not have enough. To plead I want to find love is to broadcast the painful frequency of I am unloved. The wanting itself reinforces the absence. The way of the sovereign, the alchemist, is the way of being. It is the art of cultivating the feeling state, the vibrational frequency of the desired reality now, before it has manifested externally. You do not chase peace. You tune your instrument to the frequency of peace right now by anchoring in your breath and resting in the sacred neutral. You do not hunt for love. You tune yourself to the frequency of love right now by embodying compassion and gratitude. Your state precedes the evidence. You ask yourself not, what do I want to get, but rather, who do I need to be? What is the vibrational state of a person who experiences abundance? It is a state of gratitude, generosity, and trust. So you cultivate gratitude, generosity, and trust now. What is the vibrational state of a person who experiences deep connection? It is a state of openness, vulnerability, and self-love. So you cultivate those states within yourself now. You broadcast the music first. The dance of reality will then, inevitably, begin to move to your rhythm. This is the ultimate empowerment. You are the composer of your life's symphony. Your state of being is your most potent creative tool. By taking radical responsibility for your own inner vibration, you cease to be a victim of circumstance and become a conscious artist of your reality. This profound realization that you are a broadcasting tower of vibration, a musical instrument playing a symphony that shapes your world, fundamentally changes your relationship with the universe itself. You are no longer a small, separate entity begging for favors from a distant, indifferent cosmos. You begin to see that you are in a constant, collaborative dance with an intelligent, responsive partner. The universe is not a detached observer of your work. You realize it is, and always has been, your co-alchemist. You have tuned your instrument and discovered that the universe responds to its music. You have taken your seat on the throne of sovereignty, a broadcasting tower emanating a clear and coherent frequency. But the relationship is even deeper, more intimate, and more miraculous than that. The universe is not merely a passive mirror or a simple feedback mechanism that reflects your state. It is an active, intelligent, and benevolent partner in your transformation. You are the alchemist in the sacred laboratory of your life, but you are not, and you have never been, working alone. The entire cosmos, in its infinite wisdom and power, is your silent, ever-present co-alchemist. This realization marks a fundamental shift from the old paradigm of reality, which is implicitly adversarial, to a new model of profound collaboration. In the old model, the worldview of the sleeping ego, it is me against the world. Life is seen as a series of problems to be solved, obstacles to be overcome, and dangers to be navigated. The universe is perceived as either cruelly indifferent or actively hostile. We believe we must struggle, fight, and claw for every scrap of happiness or security. This worldview is the natural and inevitable result of the ego's primary illusion, the belief that you are separate from the whole of life. The new model, the worldview of the awakened sovereign, is one of collaboration. You understand that the universe is fundamentally on your side. It is not trying to test you, trick you, or punish you. It is, in every single moment, conspiring in your favor. It is trying to awaken you. Every event, every circumstance, and every person that enters your life is part of a perfectly orchestrated and utterly personalized curriculum designed for the evolution of your soul. A problem is no longer seen as an obstacle. It is a precisely tailored assignment from your co-alchemist, designed to help you discover a strength or a wisdom you did not know you possessed. A failure is no longer a final judgment on your worth. It is a compassionate course correction, a gentle nudge from the universe guiding you back to a more authentic path. A difficult person is no longer an enemy. They are a visiting professor, a master teacher disguised in frustrating robes, arriving with the exact lesson you most need to learn about your own unhealed triggers. This perspective instantly drains the poison of victimhood from your life and infuses every moment with a deep and abiding sense of purpose. To grasp the dynamic of this sacred partnership, imagine you are a master sculptor standing before a great, uncarved block of marble, which is your life. Your sacred task is to carve a masterpiece from this block, the masterpiece that is your fully awakened, authentic self. In this studio, your most important job, the one that only you can do, is to hold the vision. You must know with unwavering clarity and feeling the form you intend to reveal from within the stone. This vision is not just a mental image. It is your state of being. It is the vibrational frequency you have chosen to embody, the frequency of peace, of wholeness, of love, of creative joy. Your primary role as the sculptor is to hold this vision, to feel it as a present reality, to be the tuned instrument. Now, the universe is your infinitely resourceful and intuitive studio assistant. This assistant is always with you, silent, attentive, and deeply attuned to the vision you are holding. It sees the form you are intending to create. It feels the music you are emanating, and in perfect immediate response, it brings you the exact tool you need for the next stage of your work. If your vision requires a large, rough piece of ignorance to be chipped away, the assistant will hand you a challenge, the heavy hammer and chisel of a difficult life event. If you need to smooth and refine the curve of your compassion, the assistant will hand you an opportunity to serve the fine-grained sandpaper of a person in need. If you are starting to lose faith in your vision, the assistant might quietly place a synchronicity on your workbench, a feather, a song, a meaningful conversation to act as a whisper of encouragement, a reminder that you are on the right path. This is the divine dance of co-creation. You, the sculptor, do not fret or worry about where the tools will come from or how they will arrive. You do not run around trying to manufacture your own hammers and chisels. To do so is to abandon your real work. Your job is to stay focused on your art, to hold the purity of your vision, and to remain ready to use the tools that are given to you. The assistant, the universe, does not presume to tell you what to sculpt. It does not impose its own vision upon your marble. It simply, and with perfect intelligence, responds to your sustained intention by providing the necessary means. You hold the what and the why of your inner state. The universe handles the how, the when, and the where of the outer circumstances. This partnership is built on a foundation of absolute trust. This partnership is a two-way communication. Your primary way of speaking to the universe is through the clear, non-verbal signal of your intention, which is broadcast through the frequency of your state of being. A clear intention, held in a state of emotional alignment and trust, is a powerful call that your co-alchemist cannot and will not ignore. It is like placing a specific, clear order for the exact tool you require next. The universe speaks back to you in its own subtle and magical language, the language of synchronicity. It speaks in meaningful coincidences, in improbable encounters, in the timely arrival of information. You think of a long-lost friend, and they call you that afternoon. You are struggling with a question, and the answer appears in a line from a book you open at random. You see repeating numbers or symbols that have a personal meaning for you, appearing in moments of decision. These are not random accidents for the attuned soul. They are winks from your co-alchemist. They are confirmations that your call has been heard, that you are seen, and that you are moving in harmony with the flow. Learning to notice, acknowledge, and trust these synchronicities is how you strengthen your conscious relationship with your divine partner. The profound peace that arises from this realization is immeasurable. You can finally relax. You can let go of the immense strain of trying to control every detail of your life. You understand that you are held, supported, and guided in every moment. Your only job is to do your inner work, to keep your inner kingdom peaceful, to keep your vibrational instrument tuned, to hold the vision of your highest self with love and clarity, and to trust with your whole being that your partner has everything else under control. This deep trust in your cosmic co-alchemist cultivates an entirely new relationship with the fruits of your labor. You learn to care passionately about the quality of your work and the clarity of your vision, but you release your anxious, fearful grip on the final result. You begin to master the liberating and essential grace of sacred detachment. As you deepen into your role as a co-creator with the universe, trusting its wisdom and guidance, you are invited to learn one of the most subtle, powerful, and liberating arts of the spirit. It is the art of sacred detachment. The word itself can sound cold, aloof, uncaring. We have been taught to associate detachment with indifference, a lack of passion, or a withdrawal from the world. But this is a profound misunderstanding of its true nature. Sacred detachment is not a turning away from life. It is the essential prerequisite for engaging with life fully, freely, and with a heart that is no longer afraid of being broken. Indifference says, "I don't care." It is a suit of armor, a numb shutting down of the heart to avoid potential pain. It is a state of contraction. Sacred detachment says, I will care with the whole of my being. I will love with the whole of my heart. I will engage with the whole of my passion, but I will release my soul's dependency on a particular outcome. It is a state of radical openness, combined with an unshakable trust in the greater intelligence of life itself. To understand detachment, we must first understand its opposite, attachment. Attachment is the ego's frantic attempt to secure its happiness, its worth, or its security in an external person, condition, or outcome. It is the inner voice that says, I will be happy when I get that job. I will finally feel worthy when that person loves me. My life will be okay if and only if this situation turns out exactly as I have planned. Attachment hooks the anchor of your inner peace to the perpetually shifting, unpredictable winds of the external world. This is a guaranteed recipe for suffering. Energetically, attachment creates a tense, needy, grasping frequency. When you are attached to an outcome, you are broadcasting a powerful signal of lack into the universe. You are vibrating at the frequency of, I am not whole without this. I need this to be complete. And your co-alchemist, the universe, infallibly responds to the vibration you are emitting. It responds to the energy of neediness and lack, not to the image of the thing you desire. Your attachment, your very grasping, paradoxically pushes away the very thing you seek. It pollutes your creative power. It is like trying to catch a butterfly with a clenched fist. The very act of clenching ensures the butterfly cannot land. Let us return to the garden. Imagine you have planted a seed for a magnificent rose bush. This seed is your clear, heartfelt intention. But you, the gardener, are deeply attached to the outcome. So every day, you are filled with anxiety. You go to the garden and poke at the soil, digging up the seed to see if it has sprouted yet, damaging its tender roots. When a small seedling appears, you yell at it, trying to coax it to grow faster. When a tiny bud forms, you become impatient and try to pry its petals open with your fingers to force it to bloom. What is the result of this anxious, controlling, and forceful energy? A stressed, damaged, and likely dead plant. The gardener's desperate attachment to the bloom has prevented the bloom from ever happening. This is how most human beings approach their most cherished goals and relationships. Now, imagine a wise gardener. They too begin with a clear intention, a beautiful seed. They prepare the soil with love and care. This is your inner work, creating a fertile ground of peace and self-worth. They plant the seed with a sense of reverence and trust. They water it consistently. These are your daily, aligned actions. They gently remove the weeds of doubt and fear that sprout around it. And then, and this is the crucial step, they let go. They surrender. They trust the innate intelligence within the seed to know exactly how and when to grow. They trust the sun, the rain, and the mysterious life force of the earth to do their part. The wise gardener is passionately and fully engaged in the process of nurturing, but they are completely detached from the specific timing and form of the bloom. And because of this trust, this respect for the natural unfolding, the rosebush flourishes, often in ways more resilient and beautiful than the gardener could have meticulously planned. Your life is this garden. Your intentions are the seeds. Your aligned actions are the water. Your trust in your co-alchemist is your faith in the sun and the soil. Your work is to do your part with love, presence, and excellence, and then to release your white-knuckled grip on the result. You must allow the universe room to perform its magic. How does one practice this in daily life? It begins with a conscious shift in your definition of success. Success is no longer measured by whether you got the external thing, the promotion, the relationship, the money. Success is now measured by the quality of your being during the process. The questions become, did I show up today with presence and integrity? Did I act from a place of love or a place of fear? Did I do my part to the best of my ability with an open heart? When you pour 100% of your energy into the quality of your actions in the present moment, you have no energy left over for worrying about the future outcome. You find your fulfillment in the work itself, not in its future reward. A powerful tool for cultivating detachment is to add a silent clause to all of your intentions, this or something better. When you set a goal, you hold the vision clearly and lovingly in your heart, and then you offer it up to the universe with the addendum, I am open to this, or to something even greater for the highest good of all concerned. This simple phrase is an act of profound humility. It acknowledges that your ego's vision is limited and that the universe, your co-alchemist, has a vantage point of infinite intelligence. You might be passionately working toward a small cottage, while the universe has plans to deliver a beautiful, expansive mansion to you. Your rigid attachment to the cottage could cause you to miss the greater gift. Finally, you must learn to embrace uncertainty. The egoic mind despises the unknown. It wants guarantees, plans, and predictable futures. The soul, your true self, thrives in uncertainty because it knows that the unknown is the fertile field of all possibility. To practice detachment is to learn to be comfortable in the space of not knowing, to see it not as a threat, but as a sacred space of pure creative potential where the universe has room to work its wonders. In this surrender, you find an extraordinary freedom. By releasing your desperate grip, you paradoxically become more able to receive. By detaching from the final score, you become a more graceful and effective player in the game. Your heart, no longer held hostage by results, is finally free to love fully, to create boldly, and to engage with life fearlessly. You are no longer a beggar pleading with fate. You are a sovereign creator, dancing with grace. As you master this art of sacred detachment, your entire being begins to radiate a new quality. The frantic, needy energy of the seeker subsides. It is replaced by the calm, luminous energy of the one who has already found. You are no longer trying to get peace or love or wisdom. You are simply being it. You begin to truly and effortlessly embody the golden essence. We arrive now at the heart of the great work, the final and most profound secret of the ancient alchemists. The uninitiated, the seekers of external riches, believed the goal of alchemy was merely to turn base metals into physical gold. A noble pursuit of chemistry, perhaps, but a superficial one. The true masters, the inner adepts, understood a deeper truth. The outer work was only ever a metaphor for the inner. The ultimate goal was not to create gold, but to become golden. It was to so thoroughly transmute the dense lead of one's own fear, ignorance, and suffering that the very substance of one's being would begin to radiate the qualities of gold itself: incorruptibility, purity, luminosity, and inherent value. This, and nothing less, is the stage of embodiment. It is the destination of your long journey home. For much of this path, the qualities you have been cultivating, peace, love, clarity, presence, have existed as temporary states. A state is a condition you can visit. You might find a state of deep peace during a meditation, or a state of profound love while looking at a sunset. These states are beautiful and essential, but they are often conditional and fleeting. A difficult phone call, a piece of bad news, a stressful situation could easily pull you out of your peaceful state and back into the familiar territory of anxiety and reaction. The work was to return to these states again and again. Embodiment marks a fundamental shift in the physics of your soul. Peace is no longer a state you visit. It becomes a permanent trait of your character. It becomes the very fabric of who you are. Love is no longer something you do for others. It is the natural energy you emanate, the very air you breathe. Wisdom is no longer something you have in the form of insights. It is the effortless perspective through which you now see the world. The shift is from visiting a beautiful foreign country to becoming a native citizen. The tourist appreciates the beauty, but knows their true home is elsewhere, and they must eventually leave. The native is the country. Its rhythms, its climate, its landscapes are an inseparable part of their identity. You are no longer a tourist in the kingdom of heaven within. You have become a citizen. You are home. Consider the nature of pure gold. It does not try to be valuable. Its value is inherent. It does not strive to shine. Its nature is to radiate light. It is dense, substantial, and fundamentally incorruptible. You can cover it in mud, but underneath it remains pure gold. You can drop it in the most corrosive acid, but it does not tarnish. This is the quality of your embodied, golden essence. You have faced the acids of your own pain. You have sat in the mud of your own confusion, and through the alchemy of your presence, you have discovered the part of you that is utterly untouchable, eternally pure. And because it is your nature, there is no longer any effort involved. Gold does not need to shout, "I am gold." It does not need to post certificates of its authenticity or convince the other metals of its worth. Its value is self-evident. It simply shines. Likewise, the embodied soul no longer needs to prove its peace. You feel no need to convince anyone that you are spiritual or healed or enlightened. Your presence itself becomes the only evidence required. Your calmness in a crisis, your unforced compassion in the face of judgment, your quiet, unshakable joy for no particular reason. This is the shining, this is the silent sermon of your being. You have shifted from being the thermometer to being the thermostat. A thermometer is a reactive instrument. It simply reflects the temperature of the room it is in. If the room is hot, it reads hot. If the room is cold, it reads cold. The unembodied self is a thermometer, its inner state constantly fluctuating to match the emotional temperature of its environment. The thermostat, however, is a creative instrument. It does not reflect the room's temperature, it sets it. It radiates an influence that brings the room into alignment with its own setting. The embodied person becomes the thermostat. Their inner state of peace is so stable, so deeply rooted in the ground of being, that it naturally radiates an influence. They walk into a tense room, and their quiet, non-reactive presence subtly calms the tension. They bring their peace to the world, rather than having their peace taken by the world. What are the markers of this embodiment in your daily life? The first is a profound sense of effortlessness. The intense feeling of working on yourself begins to fade. The struggle subsides. You are no longer constantly managing your triggers or forcing yourself to be positive. You are simply living from your true nature, and your actions flow from this source with a natural ease and grace. The second marker is a deep and abiding non-reactivity. The gap you have been cultivating between stimulus and response has become vast and spacious. You are no longer easily hooked by the world's dramas. You witness anger, fear, and chaos, both in the world and within yourself, from the calm, compassionate seat of the sovereign. You are the mountain, feeling the weather without becoming it. The third marker is the dawn of a causal joy. Your happiness is no longer primarily dependent on external causes. It is not because you got the promotion or because someone praised you. You begin to experience a quiet, background hum of well-being, a gentle contentment that is present for no other reason than the simple, miraculous fact that you are alive and conscious. It is the joy of being itself. And finally, compassion becomes a reflex. It is no longer a conscious spiritual practice you must remember to apply. It is the automatic, spontaneous response of your open heart to the presence of suffering, both in yourself and in others. It flows from you as naturally as light flows from the sun. This is the great fulfillment of the alchemical promise. It is not an endpoint, for life and growth are eternal, but it is a new beginning. It is the beginning of a life lived from a place of innate wholeness, not from a place of perpetual seeking. The lead of your old fear-based separate self has been fully transmuted into the radiant, incorruptible gold of your true divine nature. You are no longer the alchemist, striving to create the gold. You have become the gold itself. And when a being becomes golden, when they fully embody this precious, luminous essence, their light cannot be contained. It naturally, silently, and effortlessly begins to radiate outward, touching and transforming everything and everyone it meets. You have become golden. The lead of the old self has been transmuted, and the essence of your being now shines with the quiet, incorruptible light of your own true nature. As you rest in this state of embodiment, you begin to discover the nature of true power. We live in a world that profoundly misunderstands power. We are taught that power is loud. It is the force of armies, the shout of a demagogue, the roar of an engine, the aggressive and noisy pursuit of wealth and status. This is the power of the ego, a power that seeks to dominate, to control, and to impose its will upon the world through effort and force. But as you settle into the golden essence, you discover a power of an entirely different order. It is the silent, pervasive, and irresistible power that radiates from a quiet heart. This power does not need to announce itself. It is felt, not heard. It influences, not commands. It transforms not by doing, but by being. To understand this, we must look at the physics of your own radiant consciousness. When your inner world was a place of conflict and contradiction, your personal energy field was incoherent. It was like a dim, flickering light bulb, sending out weak, chaotic, and contradictory signals into the world. But as you have done the inner work, as you have aligned your thoughts, your emotions, and your soul, your energy field has become coherent. Think of the difference between the light from a normal light bulb and the light from a laser. The only difference is coherence. A laser is simply light, whose waves are all vibrating in perfect unison. And because of this coherence, a small, low-wattage laser beam has more power to penetrate and carry information than a huge, diffuse floodlight. Your quiet heart, at peace and in alignment with itself, radiates a coherent field of peace. It is a silent, orderly, and powerful transmission. This coherent field has a palpable, measurable effect on the environment around it. It is a fundamental principle of resonance that a coherent system can entrain or bring into harmony a less coherent system. It is not magic, it is the physics of consciousness. Your quiet, centered presence begins to subtly, gently, and powerfully bring a sense of order and peace to the chaotic energy fields around you. The ego tries to effect change in the world like a noisy tugboat in a vast harbor. It sounds its horn constantly, announcing its importance. It churns the water into a foaming wake, making a great show of its effort. It pushes and pulls at the great ocean liners of life, trying to force them to go where it wants them to go. The life of the tugboat is one of constant, exhausting struggle against the immense, powerful forces of the sea. The embodied soul, your true self, is the lighthouse. The lighthouse is built upon a foundation of solid rock, the unshakable ground of your own being. It does not chase the ships. It does not sound a horn or yell directions. It does not roar at the storm or curse the darkness. It makes no sound at all. The lighthouse performs only one, simple, effortless, and essential function. It shines. It radiates its own true light, steadily, consistently, and without condition, through the darkest night and the fiercest storm. And what is the result of this silent shining? The ships that are lost in the darkness, the souls that are navigating the treacherous waters of their own confusion, see this light. They are not forced to follow it. They are not commanded or coerced. They are simply given a point of reference, a beacon of clarity and hope in the overwhelming darkness. They can orient themselves by its steady, unwavering presence. The lighthouse guides countless souls to safety without ever leaving its foundation, without making a single sound, and without ever knowing the names of the ships it has saved. Its power is not in its doing, but in its silent, radiant being. This is your calling now. Your work is no longer to be a frantic tugboat, rushing about trying to fix everyone, to manage their lives, to give them unsolicited advice, and to rescue them from their own necessary lessons. That is the path of the ego, seeking its own validation through helping. Your work now is to be the lighthouse. Your primary responsibility is to tend to your own inner light, to keep the lamp clean and the fuel abundant, to ensure that your own connection to the source of your being is clear and bright. Your task is to simply stand on your rock, rooted in your truth, and shine. Those who are ready for the light, those who are searching for it, will be drawn to it. You do not need to advertise. Your radiance is the only call that is necessary. How does this quiet power manifest in your daily life? In conversations, you find yourself listening more and speaking less. Your silent, attentive, non-judgmental presence becomes a sacred space in which other people feel safe enough to hear their own inner wisdom, rather than you trying to give them yours. In moments of conflict, you do not add your own reactivity to the fire. Your calm, centered presence acts as a cooling agent. Very often, you will find that a volatile situation de-escalates around you without you having to do or say anything strategic at all. In a group setting, your inner centeredness acts as a silent anchor. People around you, without knowing why, will begin to feel more settled, more grounded, simply by being in your field. Your coherent energy field can have a tangible, soothing effect on the nervous systems of those you interact with, including children, animals, and even the plant life in your home. You become a walking sanctuary, a mobile temple of peace. The crucial understanding is that this is not a strategy you are employing. You are not projecting peace or trying to be calm. These are all functions of the ego. This radiance is the natural, spontaneous, and effortless byproduct of your embodied state. The sun does not try to radiate heat and light. It simply is the sun. The greatest power is found in the deepest stillness. The most profound influence is wielded through compassionate non-interference. The most lasting change is effected in the world by simply being the change you wish to see. Your quiet heart, having found its true center, has become a force of nature. It is a silent agent of peace, a catalyst for healing in a noisy and troubled world. This radiant presence, this silent, steady shining, completes a great and beautiful cycle. You began this journey seeking a light to guide you out of your own darkness. Now, having become that light, you discover that your very being has become a catalyst, a living philosopher's stone, for others who are just beginning their own search. The cycle is renewed, but on a higher and more selfless octave. And so, the great alchemical wheel turns full circle. The journey that began in the solitary darkness of your own personal pain, a desperate search for a treasure you believed was lost, now finds its ultimate and most beautiful fulfillment not in accumulation, but in radiation. The final stage of mastery is never about possessing the gold for oneself. It is about becoming a force that helps others recognize the gold that has always existed within themselves. Having completed your personal transformation from the lead of fear to the gold of embodied presence, your very being now becomes a catalyst. The alchemist becomes the philosopher's stone. Think back to the beginning. You came to this work seeking a light for yourself. You felt lost, confused, burdened by the weight of your past and the fear of your future. You were seeking a map, a key, a secret that could unlock you from your own inner prison. Now, having walked the path, having faced the shadows and integrated them into the light, you have become the very thing you were seeking. You are the key, you are the map, you are the light. The search has ended because the seeker has merged with the sought. The final secret of alchemy is that the stone that turns lead into gold is not an external object to be found, but an internal state to be embodied. Your own transformed consciousness is that stone. How does this catalytic process work? It is not through teaching, preaching, or consciously trying to change anyone. To do so would be to return to the ego's game of control. It works through the silent, effortless principles of resonance and radiance that you have already come to understand. Your coherent energy field, the peaceful, stable vibration that emanates from your quiet heart, interacts with the less coherent, more chaotic energy fields of those around you. This interaction does not force change. It does not impose its will. It simply reminds their system of its own original blueprint, its own innate potential for harmony. It is like a perfectly tuned tuning fork being struck in a room full of other, silent forks. Your clear, steady vibration will cause the other forks to begin vibrating at their own true, natural frequency. You are not giving them anything they do not already possess. You are simply helping them to remember the song they were born to sing. Let us use one final metaphor to illuminate this new stage of your journey. Remember the beginning. You were cold, perhaps lost in the dark woods of your own mind. You were desperately seeking a spark, a source of warmth and light to guide you. You were drawn to certain books, to teachings, to this very recording, hoping to find a flame that could illuminate your path. Through all the stages of your inner work, you were gathering the tinder of self-awareness, striking the flint of courage against the steel of your pain, and patiently tending to a fragile, flickering flame of hope. You protected this nascent flame from the howling winds of your own doubt and the damp rains of your despair. You fed it with the kindling of your daily practice, your meditation, your forgiveness, your gratitude. You watched it grow from a spark to a steady flame, and then to a strong and vibrant fire. Now, The great work has reached its culmination. You are no longer the cold seeker, nor are you the anxious fire tender. The transformation is complete. You are the bonfire. You stand in the center of the forest, a source of warmth and light, fully and effortlessly embodying the essence of your own being. And now, a miraculous and natural process begins to unfold. You do not need to send out search parties into the woods. You do not need to shout, "Come here, I have fire." The other souls who are still cold, who are still wandering in the darkness of their own confusion, will see your light from a distance. They will feel the gentle warmth of your presence carried on the wind, and they will, naturally and instinctively, be drawn toward you. When they arrive, hesitant and hopeful, at the edge of your clearing, you do not need to give them a long lecture on the theory of combustion or the history of fire-making. You do not need to tell them your whole story of how you built your fire. You simply welcome them. Your silent, accepting presence is the only invitation they need. They will bring with them their own small, unlit torches, their own spark of readiness, their own quiet desire for truth. And by simply touching their torch to your great roaring bonfire, their own flame is ignited. In this act, you have lost nothing. Your own fire is not diminished in the slightest by lighting another's torch. In fact, the collective light in the forest only grows brighter. The shared warmth becomes more powerful. This is the nature of your new work in the world. It is not a work of doing, but a work of being. Your very presence becomes an act of selfless, effortless service. This is a form of service that is entirely free from the ego. The ego's desire to help is often a disguised need to feel superior, to create dependency, or to validate its own spiritual identity. But the service of the bonfire is completely non-attached. You are not attached to which travelers are drawn to your fire. You are not attached to whether they light their torches or simply warm themselves for a while and then leave. You are not attached to what they do with their flame once it is lit. Your fulfillment comes not from the gratitude of the travelers, but from the simple, intrinsic joy of burning brightly. You shine because it is your nature to shine. This completes the great cycle of giving and receiving. The universe, your co-alchemist, brought you the experiences, the tools, and the grace you needed to build your fire. Now you, in turn, become an instrument of that grace in the world. The universe begins to guide others to you, not just as mirrors for your own continued learning, but as opportunities for your light to serve the whole. The lead of your personal suffering is transmuted. The journey from the solitary self, lost in pain, to the sovereign self, radiant and whole, is complete. But you see now that it was never an end in itself. It was a preparation. It is the beginning of a new, more beautiful cycle. The cycle of giving back to life, not from a place of duty or obligation, but from a place of joyful, natural overflow. Your cup is full, and its very nature is now to spill over, nourishing the thirsty ground and the hungry souls all around you. You have become a blessing simply by being yourself. And so, our journey through words comes to a close. The great wheel has turned, and the story of the alchemist has been told. Bring your attention back now, from the vast inner landscapes we have explored, and into the simple, sacred reality of this moment. Feel the anchor of your own breath, moving gently in and out. Feel the weight and solidity of your body, this precious vessel of life. The bonfire we have built together now burns steadily within you, a quiet beacon in the heart of the forest that is your own being. You began this journey by acknowledging the heavy, dull lead of your pain, your confusion, your weariness. You learned to build a sanctuary of stillness, to light the cool, purifying flame of observation, and to dissolve the rigid armor of your old, protective identity. You learned to trust the river of grace, to read the wisdom in the mirror of others, and to forgive the debts of the past. You have gathered the diamonds of insight forged under pressure, and you have taken your rightful seat upon the throne of your inner kingdom, no longer a leaf in the wind, but the mountain itself. You have become the golden essence, the quiet lighthouse, the steady flame. But the final secret of the alchemist, the most profound truth held at the very center of the work, is this: there was never any lead to begin with. It was always gold, merely appearing as lead through the distorted lens of a fearful mind. The entire journey was not about changing the fundamental substance of your being, but about removing the illusions that prevented you from seeing what you have always been. The philosopher's stone, the great catalyst of transformation, was not an object you had to find, create, or earn. It is the timeless, spacious, loving awareness that you are, and that you have always been. You did not acquire it on this journey. You simply removed the debris that was obscuring its constant, gentle light. Let this truth be the new foundation of your existence. Let it be the quiet hum beneath all the noise of the world. Carry it with you, not as an intellectual concept, but as a deeply felt, embodied reality. Let it be the mantra that your heart beats to. Breathe in and know. I am the space in which all things are transformed. Breathe out and feel. I am the alchemist. Rest in the stillness and be, I am the gold. There is nothing more to learn, nothing more to seek. There is only this to be. Rest in this knowing. Let the peace of this realization saturate every cell, every atom of your body. When you are ready, you may open your eyes, but know that you will be looking out upon the same world with an entirely new vision. You see not a world of problems to be solved, but a world of mystery to be lived. You see not a world of separate, competing entities, but a world of fellow souls, all walking their own unique path of remembrance. You are no longer the seeker, lost in the darkness. You are the light that illuminates the way. The personal work of becoming is complete. The sacred work of being has just begun. Be still and know